Real quick, before we start this podcast episode, I just want to say thank you for tuning into the Marc Colcer podcast. I know you've got a million things that you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're taking time out of your day to watch this podcast episode truly means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you for that. If you'd like to continue to support the podcast, right below this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, and then, hey, if you got some more time and you want to hit the download button, the comment button, the like button, the share button, any of those buttons, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps for other people to find out about the podcast, and it helps for you to be notified about future episodes. So if you guys could take a quick second, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Outside of that, this episode and every other episode is brought to you guys by Roast Umber Coffee. As some of you guys know, I co-founded Roast Umber Coffee, and we have the greatest farmers in Guatemala and Honduras and the greatest roaster in Grand Rapids, Michigan, all to bring you guys the greatest cup of coffee possible. So if you'd like to try it out, go to our website, use the coupon code MARC30, and you're going to get 30% off your coffee. Now on to the episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Welcome to the Marc Colcer podcast. I've been looking forward to running this episode with you guys since I don't remember when the first time Claynosaurz was posted on Twitter, but I remember seeing it and being like, this project is just different. Like I've never been a huge like 3D art fan in terms of NFTs because I feel like none of those projects have really done super well. But the moment I saw the Claynosaurz, I fell in love with it. I think I immediately reached out to you guys, wanted to make a podcast happen, and so I'm really glad that we could make this happen today. So appreciate you guys coming out. Welcome to the podcast.
Man, thanks so much for having us. Yeah, I think you called us like it must have been like 6 months ago, 7 months ago.
Yeah.
And you've been on my ass ever since, and now I'm so glad to be here.
Well, welcome. I'm glad you guys are both here. We have a damn good week ahead of us. We've got some fun times. I'm very glad we're doing this at the beginning of the week because who knows what kind of condition we're going to be by the end of the week. And but yeah, so for people who don't know who you guys are, can you give a brief intro to yourselves?
My name's Nick, or Cab Animation. I'm one of the co-founders of Claynosaurz. I'm also co-creative director at Claynosaurz presently. And I started my career in animation and visual effects just about 13 years ago now. And I've been an animation supervisor in the industry for visual effects projects and creature work. So, I've supervised stuff on Game of Thrones, some creature work there. I've supervised stuff for Fantastic Beasts. So, for all the Harry Potter fans out there, I think you might be one as well.
Oh, yeah. Do you see the coasters there?
Yeah, I did. That's what I'm saying.
The Marauder map? Yeah. Yep.
I've been involved in just so many visual effects projects. I was always a big fan of movies, so for me it was a big thing. And I've also, been involved on music videos, so stuff with like K-Tronada. And then recently, now it's been like a year and a half, I've delved into the Web3 and NFT space, and it's been going pretty well.
There we go.
Well, what a stacked resume.
Yeah. Andrew, that's a tough answer.
Yeah, now I've got to follow that.
Yeah,
why don't I go
way
first?
More boring.
Yeah.
No, I think Nick's background really caters to exactly what we do, but mine's sort of the other side of things that people often don't think about in a company that's creatively oriented. So I'm CEO of Claynosaurz. I joined them right after Mint, so like December 1st, thereabouts. Mm-hmm. And I started with the team more as like a consultant, just to sort of come in there and make sure that everything was sorted and set in its ways so that they could, plow through forward. And then after that period, I was on for about a month, and I think the guys were sort of like seeing my value, and I actually wasn't even planning to stay that long. I was like, I'm going to help these guys out. They're good friends of mine. Let's see how this goes. And the more I dug into it, the more and more I saw this like immense quality and like crazy opportunity in what they were doing. And we got to a point where I sort of set them on a path and said, okay, you guys are set. I don't know if you want me to stay on or not. And because a lot of the guys on the team and girls are sort of old friends of mine and people that I'm close to just, in real life, I came back and said, look, you guys want me to stay, it has to be unanimous, right? Like you guys sit there, talk amongst yourselves and let me know. But if that's not going to be unanimous, I can't run the company properly. And they came back with like an hour and they're like, yeah, you're in, like, let's go. And since then it's been a blast. It's actually a crazy high paced environment. So, and that goes back to like my background is in investments. It's in hedge fund stuff. Before this, my partners and I had started a hedge fund inside of another fund, mostly like emerging market stuff, special situations, distressed, like all kinds of these funky situations. So I'd be like on a plane to Brazil one night and then to Romania and then to Ukraine and then all around. But all that means is like you're kind of like stepping into these new situations and like meeting all these new people and trying to like catch up and figure out what the heck is going on. and learn quickly, adapt quickly, solve for these problems, and then basically make a return on it, right? But making a return follows quality work. So I'm something like a fixer in that sense. And so jumping into Web3 and jumping in with these guys who I knew were producing something of such high quality has been a lot of the same, right? Like you're just jumping into this sort of pool of people that are learning at the same time as you, and adapting to this ever-changing situation. And it's a lot of the same stuff I've been doing for many years. So I've enjoyed it quite a bit in the last 3-4 months now.
Yeah. I mean, hey, and at least you came in right after FTX. So at least you didn't that would have been a tough like first week if you came in and it was like, and then FTX happened.
Well, yeah, I was following these guys from afar, and they were asking, like, calling me for advice even as early as like early 2022. And I was sort of like, guys, you don't need me. Like I'm like this business guy. Like you guys are creating this art. You're gonna sell it in NFT land. I don't really know Web3 marketing or Web3 Twitter, like all these things that you guys are so adept at, and you're all working towards one end. Like you're all trying to get to the mint. Like you don't need me. So call me for advice and I'll help you as needed. But once you got to that mint, and once this like everything was blowing up in the background, and I'm following from far, and they're calling me like coming back from Portugal, and it's like, oh, like FTX and all this stuff. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, like, and you're watching the price plummet, and you're like, holy fuck, like these guys could have made like $10-20 million like earlier in the year. And it's like, no, like they stood by their work and said, you know, I want like the quality to stand out, and no dollars are worth infringing upon the quality of the work. And I was like, wow, that's like, you'll rarely find a founder of any company anywhere on this planet who is going to say like, I'll rather like quality over money.
Yeah.
Because the quality is to get to the money.
Yeah.
And like, so if one's already there, you kind of take it. But these guys have this vision that's like way longer than one moment, which makes it so admirable.
We had so many war room meetings, you know, after FTX, especially coming back from the high that was Lisbon and Breakpoint. Just, you know, we had this sense of wow, like we can really change the space or do something different. People really love what we're doing. And then we came back. I was on the plane when all the news came up. So like, you know, I arrived back home in Montreal and I'm just like, man, this is great. Like I really think we can pull this off. And then all the shit starts to happen. But you know, like to what Andrew is sort of saying, like we're a little bit as artists, you know, we've all been doing this for well over, most of the people on the team, like at least over 10 years. Most of the guys or girls are previously like have supervision or management positions in that art space or in the animation space. And we're a little bit psychotic in the sense that like we're unapologetic in the quality that we bring because that's what we know. And you know, some of us are mentors and stuff like that. And we wanted to bring that as well. But we also knew that it was sort of like the gateway, that we felt there was like this massive vacuum in what we were seeing in the space. And we also felt that the reason the space is so alien to a lot of people, aside from the technology and, you know, there's a lot of frictions we can talk about, like just even creating your wallet. But I think for us, we wanted to be a Trojan horse, not just for other people in the industry, but for like, you know, mom and pop or your uncle or the kids that are like, because we really do see a future in NFTs and Web3, but it's very early. I think because it was so easy previously to mint, you had a lot of like low quality or low effort kind of releases in this big kind of like rush to just get stuff out and make quick money. And for us, we're like, we need to build something that is going to last for the next couple of years. This is an opportunity we've never seen before for ourselves and just like and to make a sort of impact that we feel that we can have. And so that was like always a strategy. It's just, we stick to our guns. They will see it. If the quality is as good as what we're used to doing in Web 2, it'll be our baby and we're empowered to do it.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. I mean, yeah, I remember right after FTX came, after everything happened there, I remember going on to Twitter, and there was a Twitter space where I felt like every big NFT project founder was on that. Easy was running it, and there was like, I want to say there was like 3,000 people that eventually were in that space, right? And it was something where everybody rallied together. It didn't matter what projects don't like each other and all that kind of shit. Everybody put all the bullshit aside, and everybody was just in the space being like, hey, we're going to be okay. We're all in this shit together. And that's always been the part about the NFT space that's been special to me, is that when the going gets tough, everybody does truly band together, and like the bullshit drama kind of steps aside for a second. If anything, like we meme the shit out of like all the drama that's happening, and like we just kind of get through it all together. And then we come out of it a week later and we're always fine. You know,
there's fraternity in chewing glass together. Yeah. You know, like you're like in a war zone together. But I remember that space, and that's we were all in the space together, and then Vitalik posts something about like Solana, and that like no guys, like it really is a good tech. And I think that we were all there, like it was the low of lows, like the price was like 10 or $11 or something, and then like
I think it was when it was at 8.
Yeah, it was like it was just touching 8.
Yeah.
And then
It was
like
really that-
Vitalik posted that on that space,
goes up, like,
and it
4 or
just
5.
it went up from that was like literally the low point.
Yep.
and everybody was vibing, and it was like this beautiful thing. But in those moments, that's what I love is sort of like that human element. It reminds me of when I was a kid playing those video games that were like community based games, whether it's I was super nerd like World of Warcraft or whatever, but everybody's in on it together, whether something bad is happening or something good. And yeah, it's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So I want to get more into, Nick, so your background is obviously in animation, and you've been involved with a ton of big projects and big movies and things like that. So where did the idea of like Claynosaurz come from, and had you already been like dabbling in Web3 when the whole idea kind of came to be? Walk me through kind of the creative process of how the idea of Claynosaurz came from.
Yeah, so a friend of mine who's an ex-colleague, well, now permanent colleague, the co-founder, he was working on these little like Claynosaurz looking dinosaurs. He had one video on his Instagram, and I had been sort of like looking at the space a little bit. Actually, it's a funny story. Our intern, who's actually a key member of the team, and does much more than that. He's actually head of marketing. So he had really introduced us to the space. This was at the time of like the monkey DAO mint, and he had a few monkeys, and he was sort of trying to explain to us how life-changing it could be as artists. And actually, he's my twin, so he's my brother. So
big part of the story you missed.
I forgot to mention that at the beginning.
Sometimes I forget. No, but he introduced us to the NFT space. He was also neighbors with Farouk, so he had sort of like that part of it. But he wasn't really on the east side of stuff. He was really looking into Solana for many reasons, and we started to look at the space, me, that friend, and I approached him. I'm like, dude, like, I really think like I want to do something. I want to do something in the space. I feel like there's not much quality right now. I'm seeing the stuff coming out of ETH, and it's like, a little bit shoddy, and it doesn't. I felt there was nothing that had the ability to sort of live outside of the space. It was all like really niche designs. Like, you had like mutant apes and stuff like that. And I was like, this is what we do for a living, and we don't get the chance to do it for ourselves, or it's super high risk if you even attempt to do that, right? Because you're putting your career on hold and you put all this energy. So, I started to get into the Solana ecosystem. Phil introduced me to a lot of people, from, Legend to a bunch of other people in Monkey DAO. And, at the time, I think LaDAO was starting up with John Lay. And for me as an artist, obviously I gravitated towards the art space. I was with another friend who, artist Maxwell Adams, and we were both looking at the space together. He started getting some really juicy sales at the time. We're like, oh, I really think we could do this. Like, this is special. Your people are willing to buy your pieces and follow your journey as well, which was something that was really new to us, because in Web 2, that's not necessarily, nobody cares about the story. It's just you sell a product and that's it. And so my job really for the first like 4 months was to get into the space and play the game, just get to know people, go on Twitter, really see how things happen, because we felt that was going to be important for us. Like, we can't be tone deaf, which I think is a lot of mistakes that maybe like Web 2 companies coming into the space make. If we're going to do this, we have to do it for real. Like, we have to understand the ecosystem, understand what we can bring to it, what we don't like that we would like to change as well, or in order to help it grow. Because like, one of the things that's really important, this is something Andrew says all the time, is like, you want your sector to grow. If you're a part of it, it's just healthy. So once we felt comfortable with the space, I would say it was like maybe like November of, not last November, but like more than a year ago, we started to build out these Claynosaurz. And it was me, my friend, and then we started to call in the favors, like call in the troops, because the industry is really small, the animation industry. So we started calling people. Man, I shit you not, so many people were like, I love you, Nick, but yeah, I'm not touching like NFTs, like it's a scam, whatever. And so that put us in a situation where it was really hard to build a little team. People liked the designs of the Claynos, but they were afraid of what they had heard about NFTs in the news. So we're in this situation where it's really hard to onboard people, but we also saw there was a huge opportunity where, holy shit, if we're guys from the industry that know how to do this and the other people from the industry don't even want to touch it, like this is, you can't ask, there's a quality vacuum and there's a human resources vacuum. Like we can just crush it. And so that made us even more excited, although it was super hard to recruit our friends. But, like I'm rambling a little bit, but basically we ended up building a small kind of like guerrilla team of people that saw the product and believed in it and were interested or curious about NFTs. So there was this process of us coaching them, of, showing them the ropes in Twitter. Not everybody on the team is super active, only a few of us, but most of them pay attention. And that's sort of how it started. The issue is it took us a long time to build the product because, there's a lot of departments involved. There's a lot of different groups of artists to bring these creatures to life, whether it's animation, rigging, which is like building the skeleton that allows us to animate it, textures were so complicated because that's how we generate these things. And so it was a long process. We wanted the quality to be there. That was kind of a point of friction for the team because the more we were waiting, the more we didn't know what the market was going to do. But at the same time, we were really excited, and the price didn't really matter because we were going to build a product that would permeate anyways. I don't know if that answers the question. I feel like I'm talking about a lot of random things.
No, this is
a long process.
This is great. Yeah. I mean, I think people really like to know kind of how the whole process came to be, because I think for everybody,
it's memory lane though.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's even for me, like, it's cool to hear the process and hear like, okay, so your twin brother was, was in the
he was
space.
fawning his monkeys like on his Apple Watch. And we're like, dude, me and Max were like, dude, like, what are you doing? And then maybe through my experience of playing MMOs, when I gave it because I don't like to dismiss something, which I find a lot of like professional industry artists or even the news do. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a chance. Like your thing is worth like 45K. Like that's crazy, but why? And then I got into the space. I was like, dude, the community aspect reminds me of exactly what I loved about playing esports, about playing where you would meet people online that you didn't know, but had common interests. Which is what we feel like when we're doing this now, or when we're here for like NFT LA, even though most people don't go to the conference. But like it was a sense of, I mean, I don't want to be cheesy when I say sense of community, but it really was special, where everybody on Twitter, on crypto Twitter, or at least like, let's say like the Solana ecosystem, you could feel that it was an ecosystem. Everybody sort of knows everyone through like some degree of separation. People are DMing each other. It felt like this global chat room where you could sort of nurture new friendships, and you can meet people from all walks of life, which I think is super interesting. Again, it's not really something that happens in Web 2. And coming out of COVID, it was just like a natural thing to happen where all these people from all over the world are talking to each other like they're already friends through some sort of common interest. It was really special. And also seeing my artist friends win, obviously, in their one-on-one space. Like at the time, John was, I mean, he's still basically the number one thing, but John Lay was like really up and coming and everybody was talking about him, but we were a really small ecosystem of one-on-one artists on Solana. I didn't make one-on-one art myself, but I got to know all the people involved, like Papa Mumu, who was curating, and all the other artists, like from Maxwell to Joyce. I was there when like Form Function announced their first day. It was the rise of exchange art as well. And it was a really special place to be. It was exciting. And I think that's the whole thing, is like when you're there, when you feel you're there at ground floor, it's a really special place to be. And I feel that I get the sense that that's also a value proposition that a lot of holders have for NFT projects, where they're there at ground floor, sort of like a mirror or like a microcosm of it. Yeah.
And I think it allows you to feel like you're just way more connected to things than you typically would be, right? Like
on an emotional level, on everything.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel like when, as my background being in photography, I never really felt like I was connected to the people who followed me on Instagram. And it was like, and I gained a pretty large following on Instagram, but I never really felt like there was any sort of community there. Yeah, it always felt like it was like these random accounts that would like comment weird shit, and I never really felt like there was any sort of like bond there between me as the photographer and the person who was viewing it. But yet when I create a podcast and I put that podcast out, and then you see the love and support that it gets on Twitter, and the amount of people that will say, hey, you know, I bought into this project because I listened to your podcast and I really liked what the founder had to say, and I liked your questions and things like that. The amount, it feels like people genuinely like give a shit in this space, and that's a rare thing to find in the creative field, where you feel like you're connected to the people who are consuming what you're creating, and it's just unlike anything that I've really ever experienced before. And so when you guys were coming up with this idea and everything like that, did you kind of know, I guess, because your brother was the one who initially created the designs, you're saying?
No. He was just. So he's doing a lot of the marketing for Claynosaurz. He's not in the animation industry currently, but he sort of initiated us to the NFT space.
Okay.
So for the designs, it was the other co-founder, Dan.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah. And then we took those designs and improved on them. And as we built out our team, we found the art director who then took that and he's like, here's what we're gonna do, and here are the rules. And because that's
you should probably speak to the size of the team, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't think people realize like what kind of team goes into this, right? Because like it's actually incredible. You got all these artists that, like you described, the one-of-one guys really enjoy that like ongoing feedback. I think that's what you guys are sort of touching on when you're like, oh yeah, we love to see the community around us. And for so many years, you've just had gatekeepers, like whether it be someone who buys art and sells it. Like you never see the artist. It's like, this is the final product, but no one actually sees the work that goes into it. And I know from Nick personally, like he loves showing everybody like what he's working on and the process of it. And now instead of getting feedback like just from me, and I know when he was going through animation school and we were like in our early 20s, like we'd be going out and like before we'd head out, Nick's like working on some animation and we'd like goof around and like, he's like, can you move like this? Can you move like that? So I know from like like 15 years ago, he was looking for this kind of feedback from me alone. And now you've got like 30, 40,000 people engaging and giving the feedback that like these artists so desire. So just to build on what you guys were saying earlier, but yeah, the team is huge, right? Like you've got everyone from like concept all the way through to like modeling, rigging, texturing, animation, lighting, and then like the rendering and everything that goes on behind that. So we've got like 15 plus people, plus contractors that we hire sporadically to get that done. And everyone is fairly engaged and in love with the product because they're all benefiting from this ongoing feedback and this love from the community and this sort of, the whole idea that people are giving credit to the person who actually did the work versus like a traditional studio. You've got like 2,500 artists working on a movie.
You're just a cog.
You're a cog in a machine. And I've never worked in that environment, but I talk to the guys and we talk to the team a lot. And I get the sense that a lot of artists are just disenfranchised with that model because they're creative people. And then creative decisions get made in like a boardroom. It's fine. I don't make creative decisions for Claynosaurz at all. Like, why would I do that? That's not my expertise.
I mean, when you think about like a movie like Avatar, right? Yeah. That last Avatar 2 or whatever it is it Avatar 2? What are we on?
Yeah.
I think it's just 2.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so 2 of like 6 or something.
Yeah.
So they're going to make 6 of those things?
Something crazy.
Probably take another 100 years to make that.
We're going to die before we watch the last one, eh?
So Avatar 2 took like however many years to develop. It was like 10 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, and production has been ongoing, like real production for about 5 years, I think.
Okay,
like
so
real production.
So then you think about during that 5 years, if you're a consumer of Avatar, you're basically sitting there just kind of being like, okay, I'm waiting for them to announce that they're coming out with the movie, but there's nothing to really even like tide you over. You're just kind of like, hey, I'm waiting, right?
Yeah.
And yet with this process, as you guys are building out whatever you guys are building out with Claynosaurz, you guys have the ability to put something out on Discord or talk about something in an AMA or put something out in a podcast or tweet out something, and all of a sudden the community goes crazy, right? And that's a feedback loop that just never existed previously, because if you were somebody who was working on Avatar and you put out something that was just, that you weren't allowed to or whatever, all of a sudden you'd have legal issues that you would have to deal with. You'd probably get fired, all these things.
Dude, and it happens.
And
it's happened with Spider-Man, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then with this, even if one of the team members went a little rogue and posted something, even without like express, permission of everybody on the team, it would still probably be something where you're like, hey, you know what?
Part of the joke.
The engagement was great. Like, fuck yeah, that was awesome. Right.
Like the other day when the intern posted something where he's like, all right, guys, it's been real if I get fired. And like, because we were supposed to post it like end of day, he does it in the morning. And it's a part of the joke as well, because it's almost like a riff on the old model and sort of like, a meta against it.
Yeah. But it's funny because he actually did it, right? Like he just broke the rule just to sort of like to make it real. And we're like, okay.
Right, it's not ready. And then you see the engagement, you see people love it, and you're like,
yeah.
Because he's teasing us as like, the team making these managerial decisions. and teasing the community simultaneously. It's not like a curated thing where we're like, we'll say this and we mean that. Like, no, it's really him messing about with us.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
Yeah. And it goes back to, I think when you're a big fan of something, you like seeing kind of a little bit of the behind the scenes. You like seeing how that creative process comes to be. Like one of the books I have behind us over there is this, like, see that giant Harry Potter book on the far left?
I can see it. Yeah.
That book really breaks down like every aspect of Harry Potter and how they created the
Marc,
movies and how
you're
they
opening up something you don't want to. You're gonna get him for the next 6 hours. He's got books like that stacked up high at home.
Because we used to room, so
Yeah, I mean, those are my favorite sort of things because it makes you appreciate the art so much more, right?
It's not just it's romantic.
Yeah,
you know, like there's a sort of romanticism that comes with that journey, and it's something we want to tap into with what we're doing, in a way that's much more real time. That's just like the doors are open. You know, you're either in for the ride or you're not, and you're always feeding the beast, which is something really special. And it's something that actually like studios have approached us recently. They're like, holy shit, like you guys have something, and this is a way of doing things that is very interesting to us. And we feel that there's something we can tap into.
There's different angles to this, right? Like studios think about this. I mean, at least they're still kind of old school in their model.
Yeah.
And so like the studios we've spoken to have been thinking, I've got this IP, right? Like now how do I like reinvigorate it? And it's tough, right? Because like you've already done a movie, you've done maybe a show, you've done some toys or whatever, but like now it's sort of died. And you're like, well, let's turn it into NFT. You're like, dude, that's not how that works, right? Like building from the inside out, like that works. But like taking something that's old and dead and trying to revive it, I don't think that works.
Yeah.
And I think like a lot of these like executives, frankly, at studios, don't have a clue, right? Like they're still lost.
I think if you don't get into the culture, I mean, you guys did the right thing of
absolutely,
getting yourself acclimated into the culture, making sure you understand the culture, and then figuring out where is our niche, where do we fit in, right? Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit more about the rest of the team here. So can you kind of give me an overview of each of the team members, what their background is? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot to remember all of this, but even like hearing like some of the movies that some of the team members have worked on in the past, I feel like that's the sort of stuff that people just like hearing from and you know, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do this without my notes. All right, so we've got a concept art. It starts with concept art. Okay. We start in 2D, so that we can curate the look of everything. We can plan things. We basically build the blueprints, and it's an easy way to sort of like pitch what the idea is gonna be. How do the Claynos look? What colors? What does the landscape look like? All that stuff. And the way we've built it is really like a tiny studio, right? It's that same model that is very familiar to us, in a way that's more efficient as well. Less fluff, but so we've got like Cedric, Will, and Joyce. And Joyce right now is crushing it in the 1-on-1 space. She just did the Beeple opening. It's going really well for her. Those three right now. Sorry,
and Jervis.
Sorry, not Will. Jervis, Cedric, and Joyce. Dan Jervis was someone that we were working with, at the studios. He's a fantastic drawer. He's got a knack for colors and shapes. So he art directs the whole thing. So he decides like, what are the colors we use? What are the colors we don't use? What are the shapes we use? What are the shapes we don't use? Because the shapes that you don't use are as important as the ones that you do, in order to really package a product and make it like super recognizable. So that's basically his job. And he's sort of like the lead for that team of concept artists. Cedric is an absolute beast. Dude, this guy was working on like N64 games. And he saw what we were doing and he approached me and he's like, I heard you guys might need help through a friend. This was like, 9 months ago. And he's like, and this guy's like a legend. Like he was an art director at Ubisoft, a few other game companies at Eidos, but he was also the art director for The Little Prince, which was nominated for the Oscar for its design and cinematography and stuff like that. Yeah, so he's a total boss, and he comes up to us, and he's like, hey, let me be a part of this. I really think you guys have something. It's really special. I love these little dinosaurs. Can I help you guys? And we're like, we really need someone to help like design the world because that's going to be a thing at some point. And the armor, and we had a whole plan for which we'll talk later, but
we still have a plan, not past tense.
Oh yes,
we had a plan now.
At the time, we had this sort of idea of where we were going. Now it's been filtered and we know where we're headed. But so Cedric got to work on the landscapes because for us we had to contextualize these characters. And that's the same thing that you see all these big IPs do, like even Masters of the Universe or these toy brands. The toys are not as successful as they are once you've contextualized them in a world or a TV show or stuff like that. So long story short, we have 3 concept artists, one of which is the art director that sort of encapsulates everything. And he actually art directs what we're doing in other departments as well. Then we've got Will, who's lighting and compositing. So basically he takes all the 3D stuff and makes it look pretty in 3D. It's the best way I can describe it, but it mimics an on-set thing. Like you've set up your lights. That's sort of what he does, but in the world of 3D.
I'm sure he's a little bit better than I am.
It's a whole different thing. It takes a unique kind of person to do that. Then we've got the animators, of which right now we have 6. I'm animating whenever I can find the time, because for me, I love to do it. So, but all those animators, they've worked on stuff like Minions, Despicable Me 2. Some of these animators have also been supervisors, whether it's for like Bumblebee or for Pirates of the Caribbean. So it's a pretty stacked
You should probably
team.
explain what a supervisor is. I don't think everyone's going to know that.
God, yeah, I'm going to go down the rabbit hole.
Go for it.
Okay, so a supervisor, an animation supervisor or a lead, but primarily a supervisor, is the point person for dictating how most of the things that aren't real in a movie are going to move and how they come to life. Because there's like a language of motion that comes with all the creatures that you make. I mean, a good example is Fantastic Beasts. Each of the creatures that we were making, they have to move in a way that makes sense to how they're built. The Niffler is hilarious.
Love the Niffler.
He's built like a platypus, but he's got nuance. He's a little bit of like a little shit. So the speed at which he has to move has to be fast, because sort of on a psychological level, that like a little fast character is a little shit. So there's a lot of stuff that go into it. And you're basically a curator of motion and of acting for a given project, whether it's like a video game or a movie or a TV show. And you dictate who that character is, and you like a coach, you make sure that the team doesn't break those boundaries unless there's like a reason to. But basically, it's, for example, like when I was supervising on Paddington, or Paddington 2, there's a speed at which he should move in a moment. There's moments where he shouldn't blink. There's things that there's like things he won't do with his hands that other characters would do. And sometimes the animators, it's in their nature to try those things, and you have to tell them, like, you're basically like an acting coach in a weird way, where you're like, no, that character, it's not a part of who they are. They don't do it that way. So that's
effectively the director of an animation.
Yeah,
right? All the animation, which is the acting
because
of the film. Like, you're a director.
They do call it animation director, but that's in a situation where you have an animation director, animation supervisors, lead animator. So that's where like they call it.
Now you can imagine why the creators like are disenfranchised with studios with these crazy hierarchies that are nonsensical, right?
Yeah.
It's worse with production, but so you got the animators that have worked on like the craziest of things, and they're just, I think there's excitement for the whole team that like finally, like, I know how to do this shit, and I've been told to do it for someone else. I've reached a plateau. Like, what more is there? And I know how to do it finally I can do it for me and with my friends and with a team, and really see the thing through and love it as well. Because like there's a point at which the job feels like a job, no matter how, I used to want to work in movies for the longest time. And then I finally did it. But after X amount of years, like Andrew says, it's easy to get disenfranchised because there's a lot of bullshit that comes with it. But we can get into that later. Anyways, back to the team.
Nick loves his tangents, so
No,
one question turns into 20.
These are great.
So bad. Andrew was like, Nick, you gotta you're gonna talk way too much. And I'm like, I know.
No, but that's the sort of thing that makes people love the projects even more, right?
Yeah.
Because they can tell your passion, they can tell how much you guys care about what's being built, and the team around it that's building all of it. And like, I think that's the sort of stuff that's what makes kind of these episodes special, because somebody will watch this 6 months from now and be like, I can tell how much they genuinely care about the project and what they're building, and the work that each team member is putting in is special to the project, and without that, it wouldn't be where it's at. And you truly feel the impact of their work. And through when you guys are talking here, you can feel the impact of what you guys are saying and how much you genuinely care about the project.
It's a very intimate thing when you're doing this. I mean, 3D is really tough. And I mean, we do have like 2D people on the team, and what they do is incredible too. It's just like so much of yourself goes into that. And because of that, like you're really tied to it. You have this love affair with those characters because I mean, you pour your heart and soul into it. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but especially if you're animating, like, you know, there's nuances that are your personality that you might put in one of the characters, and it makes you love these things. And it's funny because we had the conversation when we minted. We didn't mint for those crazy numbers because of FTX and everything. And we, at the time, it was one of the highest priced mints. It was 10 Sol, but it was cheap for.
It was, I think it was like 100 and
like 130,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
For like what essentially would normally cost millions to do. But, and I know that we had received a lot of, I don't want to call it FUD, but we'd raised eyebrows where like, yeah, it's a high mint price, but it's not even enough money to do what you guys want to do. And I was like, don't underestimate the passion that these, and you can't ask people to trust you on that, but the passion that we all have for what is essentially like our baby, for what we know could be huge in the next coming years. Like, it wasn't about the money we were going to do that day. That was like a proof of concept. That was mostly like people are willing to listen. People have an interest in this. Okay, good. Now we can get started for real. You know, and we'll see the thing through and yada, yada, yada. But okay, back to the team. There I go with my tangent. Modeler. So we have a modeler that's Bruno. His experience is stuff like Sony ImageWorks. So he was doing anywhere from like I think he's worked. He's done Spider-Verse. He's done Sea Beasts, if you've seen that on Netflix. So he basically like sculpts the characters and everything else we need in 3-dimensional. What else do we have?
Rigging.
Rigging, of course. So we've got a rigger who basically takes the model and gives it like this sort of skeleton or like an armature that then us in 3D, almost like a figurine, we can move, and that's how we animate everything that you guys see in motion. So it's this whole it's this crazy like mix of a team that everybody sort of relies on everyone. There's an order of things, but it's basically a well-oiled machine. And what that means is you've got a lot of experts in what they do rather than a lot of people that are just generalists and not so great at specific things. So for us, that was a big play. We were like, we'll recreate what we know works well at the studios, but on our terms. So.
Very cool. Very cool. And so then, Andra, on your end, when you were kind of getting involved with all of this, did you have a background at all with like crypto and NFTs, or was this all completely new to you? And obviously the background that you guys have of knowing each other since you guys were in what, high school?
Yeah, we met each other in high school, grade 9.
Yeah.
No, my background actually, so no history with NFTs. My background would be really like as far as Web3 goes, was following from afar. So, you know, like 2017, Bitcoin blows up, and my background, like I said, is investing. So the trader inside me is like, okay, let's take a look at what's going on here. And I think me and Twitter intern at the time, Phil, and a few other buddies were like trading in crypto back in 2017. And at the time it was really opportunistic, right? Like I was like reading white papers at the time, and I was like, what in the world does this mean? But like, okay, like I'll lever it 10 times and just make a buck, right? And so we messed about in 2017, and I wouldn't say that we were taking it super seriously in terms, I was trying to, right? Like I was trying to figure out like, what is this thing? Like, what is blockchain? What is Web3? And like, why is this the future? And I think at the time you had like so many polarizing views of people like, this is the future, but couldn't explain it. Or, you know, just pundits like that makes no sense, right? And so as this guy sort of like trading and like making a buck here or there, I'm like, okay, well, I can see I'm making money, but I can't really figure out like what's in this aside from just trading patterns. And so like you start reading these white papers and stuff that were going on at the time. There was one that I remember that was like an insurance like pitch. I'm not going to get into it here because that would be like start talking about insurance and how it applies from blockchain into like the rest of the world. I think there's a really good pitch there, but it like caught my eye at the time, and I was like, it kind of like, it's like, you know, those sort of moments where you're like, like I kind of see how like decentralizing this particular operation makes sense. So that was like my first sort of like moment where I was like, okay, there's something here. And I kind of like, after it kind of blew up 2017, then obviously came down a little bit. And once the dust settled, I sort of forgot about it for a few years. But in the back of my head, I was thinking like the blockchain can apply to a few things. And actually in my other sort of investment job that I was doing in the past at the time, my partners and I were sort of thinking like there's probably an opportunity here in connecting supply chains to blockchains. So I mean, actually, I think the word supply chain kind of resonates with people nowadays because COVID sort of screwed all that stuff up.
Oh, yeah.
But we have expertise in that, right? So it's like, family dinners for years, people are like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like, what supply chains? Like, the ship's going from where to where? Like, I don't give a crap. And then starting like 2020, I've got people calling me like, hey, so yeah, you know these things, right? Like, what's going on? Like, where's my apple juice? So
asking you those things.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude,
People
what's
who's
going
like,
on,
no.
Andrew? Like,
Yeah, exactly. So suddenly my expertise became very relevant. But all that goes to say is that there's like a lot of opportunity in connecting these larger sort of intricate systems that rely on all kinds of nodes for trust, right? So like if you're like trading something from X to Y, like across the planet, you've got all kinds of like surveyors and shippers and insurers and third parties to just ensure that party A brings whatever it is, like corn, to party B. You know what I mean? And all those little nodes, they're all picking money out of that chain, right? Those intermediaries. And it's like, that's not really efficient because all they're really solving for is this trust. And so now I don't know what the exact answer is because there's like, you have to link this like legally speaking and all these things. So for a few years, I was always in the background whenever I had spare time, kind of looking into this and trying to figure out like, where is the opportunity? Like, how do we do this? So when Nick called and was like, yeah, we're doing this NFT thing, I wasn't sort of like, oh man, like you're crazy. Like the reaction that he was describing earlier, where people say, yeah, I've heard, the Wall Street Journal tells me not to do that. It's like, no, there's something here, right? And aside from my sort of quacky, like, real use case that I'm describing, there's a real use case in the ownership of NFTs or NFTs as an ownership tool in the web. And the easiest way to understand that is certainly with art, right? Or gaming, where like you actually have utility in those items that are digital, right? Like the same way, like, skins in Roblox or Counter-Strike, whatever, like they sell for enormous amounts of money because there's utility, right? Like no one buys something unless they want it. And so then the question is like, well, how do you create ownership over that? So that's what NFTs are. And so it made sense to me. And then because the quality of the work is so high, it made sense to just sort of to jump in with these guys and learn as much as I can. So my background is a little bit all over the place in Web3, but once I saw the opportunity with these guys, like doing it with such a level of professionalism, I was like, oh yeah, these guys are at a level that I'm happy to work with, right?
What have been some of your biggest like realizations since like diving into Web3? Obviously, since you came on board with Claynosaurz, I'm sure you've spent a lot of time like getting to know, seeing some of the other projects, seeing some of the other founders that are out there and things like that. What have been like some of the biggest realizations that you have had since diving in?
I think the biggest one is as it applies to the entertainment sector. Because like I said, I was looking at this from my traditional background and didn't necessarily have that background in entertainment to the degree that like say Nick does and other guys on the team. And so when we looked into it, or not when we looked into it, but like when I looked back at what they had done, I came to this realization that like they're able to like build this out with the community on board. They're able to like build up a fan base before they've launched any sort of minimum viable product, right? Like they're just there building openly and accruing fans versus like what's a traditional model? Like you don't know, like when was the first time you saw this Avatar trailer? Avatar 2?
Exactly. Go back to where we were talking.
Right?
Yeah.
So they invest like what? I mean, for a movie like that, probably hundreds of millions before anyone sees anything.
It's a lot.
Yeah. But okay, but that's probably not the best example, right? Because Avatar's already got the first one to like rely on for the marketing. But even a brand spanking new movie, like they'll invest tens of millions of dollars without having any feedback from anyone, right? Except for, like I said, board like members or executives at a firm or whatever it is.
But it's why they only do sequels.
Yeah, that's why sequels are so popular, because it's like they're low risk. And because you're investing so much amount of money, like creative decisions end up being taken by people in boardrooms. Like the way I said before, like why would I make a creative decision? Like that's not my expertise. Like let the creative guys do the creative things. Like, doesn't that make sense? But they can't afford to make those decisions because there's such a high budget before you ever get to a point where you're like, is this going to work or not? So you can't put the onus on the artist to do that. An executive takes the onus. And obviously it's the wrong person to make the decision, or the wrong people. And so what is that? So what does Web3 solve for? Like it solves for the ability to openly build around a community, build a fan base, and most importantly, build brand loyalty, right? Because like there's no brand loyalty in most entertainment brands. And so like these guys, for instance, launched I say these guys because I wasn't there yet, but they had done this basically as like an artist team, and getting all this feedback, accruing all these fans, and then, getting the mint. And that's helpful because now you have that money to continue building, right? But like think about a situation in which like you don't have a successful mint, right? You've invested this time and energy for like a year, right? And it's not cheap, but it's also not tens of millions of dollars. And let's say the mint's not successful. Like it doesn't go as well as planned. Well, okay, like you got to your answer way quicker and way cheaper than if you were going to build it the traditional model, which is like get to your final product basically. And like, hopefully it works after you spent $50 million plus, right? And now you've already done your marketing. And moreover, you have fans that are like, there's no better marketing than word of mouth, right? So you've got fans who are also propagating for you. You're building in the open, getting that feedback as you go. So your chance of success is higher. And then you've got this moment that comes early on in the life of the product to determine whether or not it's actually going to succeed or not in the future, right? So tell me that's not the best way to build entertainment.
Yeah, no, I mean, it
Right?
really is. It really allows you to see, do we have something here, right? Because, I mean, there's so many times, I mean, I could imagine that when they were making decisions about putting out the movie Fantastic Beasts, there was probably several executives that were like, hey, are people that loved Harry Potter, they necessarily going to give a shit about Newt Scamander, who, like, they don't know and don't have a relationship with?
Here.
Yeah. I love it. And, you know, but are they going to care, right? And then they saw that they did, right? And then at the same time, you also have to deal with, like, the realities of, like, the movie industry that you don't necessarily have to deal with in the NFT world of, like, we've seen with Fantastic Beasts, there have been several actors that they've had to change out because of you know, things that have happened outside of the movie, right? And so they have to deal with that. And then are people going to embrace the new character who's supposed to be, or the new person who's still the same character? It's a something that we don't have to necessarily deal with in this space, right? And so
There's
it's
way less red tape.
Yeah. And it's, I think, what allows it to be, you know, something that's easier to carry out, while still, you know, dealing with things that I guess they don't have to worry about, like Twitter Spaces and memeing and things like that. But we'll get into that more in a second. What I want to hear from you, Nick, is why did you guys decide to go with Solana? Because obviously, with your brother's background and like him being, you know, in the NFT space for a minute, obviously he saw ETH projects that did really well. He saw Solana projects that did really well. Why did you guys eventually decide to go with Solana?
I think both of us can answer, but I mean, we needed something that was scalable, that was that had just less friction. Because for us, like, I mean, look, the rule for entertainment is what sort of experience can you provide? And unfortunately, on ETH with the gas fees, like, can you really provide an experience? Look at it, what a lot of the Ethereum projects have done. Usually, it's you've got like this crazy like hype cycle, and then nothing for a few months, and then something, and then nothing. For us, what we had to treat it like TikTok. It had to be like, we are showing you guys stuff all the time. You know, we're going to be able to mint things all the time for you guys. We wanted to reward holders and play to the gamified elements. And just from a tech point of view, like, we didn't know how we were going to pull that off on Ethereum. Also, Solana is just a tech sandbox. I mean, you know, we've got so many startups that are helping us do what we want to do, whether it's, you know, Dialect or Cupcake or things like that. There's a lot of things at play here where we get the support we need. You know, Elixir as well with what they were doing with the AMMs and just a lot of other plays. We get that tech support that we didn't want to seek in Ethereum. There was just too much friction. And here you've got these like amazing companies that come up to you and they're like, here's what you could do. And have you thought about approaching it this way? And for us, it keeps us on our toes, but it allows us to scale the product and the world in a way that we could have never done elsewhere. I mean, look, what we are doing with Cupcake is so much fun, and it gives us the ability to sort of reward people for being there at those events. It has an element of fun, which we're all about. It adds to a little bit of the mystery. But it also presents NFTs in a way that's extremely approachable to an outside demographic. Of course, like, a lot of NFT natives are getting these booster packs or these Cupcake cards, right? But there are people that know nothing about NFTs that end up with those cards, and they tap it on their phone and they get a free digital collectible. And then maybe that digital collectible is worth something and they can sell it. And all of a sudden, we've recruited new people into the ecosystem. And they understand that it's basically like Pokemon cards, only with so many added use cases because it is digital. Because there's so many ways that it can transcend and outside of just being like a piece of paper, basically.
Well, the answer is, like, to the Solana thing is really the frictionless thing, right?
Yeah.
Because I think one of the main things is, like, when you click something as a human, like, you need it to react, right? Imagine, like, every time something reacts, it's like a second too long, like just a second. It impedes the experience immensely. And so they made the decision to go Solana before my time, but I think that was one of the main things. Like if you're going to build an entertainment brand, and we have this, idea like building this whole game out in Claytopia, and like what Nick mentioned earlier, what Cedric's working on a little bit. If you're going to like play a game, imagine every time you click, it has like a second too long, like just a second, your experience is totally screwed, right?
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's the big thing. And then the transaction cost too. Like you want to be able to have people participate without thinking like, oh, like what if I click this and it's like the gas fees are gonna be higher than normal and I'm out like $100. Like that's no way to experience anything, right?
100%. I mean, what you guys have done with these airdrops, like, so let's go over that actually for a second. So you guys have become well known for these airdrops, and we're talking not only just like the airdrops like the clay and the clay makers and everything like that, but also now, how do you pronounce it? Is it Sardines or Sardines or
Sardines?
Sardines.
Only Nick can say it. I won't even attempt.
Sardines. Dude, I was like, the first episode I ever did about NFT projects was with D-Gods, and I pronounced it D-Gods the entire time, and the amount of...
Nobody corrected you.
No. The FUD afterwards was crazy. And I was like, guys, it's because I'm from Detroit, and so I pronounce it like that. And so...
It's Detroit.
Detroit. But I was like, man, I got to make sure that when I say this, that I ask them how to pronounce it. I was actually going to ask you before the episode. So it's... Wait, say it one more time.
I might actually be butchering it myself.
Wait, yeah, but you get to
it's
decide.
Portuguese.
Yeah,
but
you're the man.
Sardines.
Sardines. Okay.
It's so it was a play on like everybody was going to be there in Portugal, and what's the thing you see everywhere at the airports? What's the biggest kind
I
of?
have no idea. I've never been to Portugal.
Nick's a foodie.
Sardine.
Nick's a
Okay,
foodie.
okay.
So
People bring it back for like.
So foodies eat sardines in Portugal.
Well, it's just it's a huge thing over there, like tinned fish.
Okay.
And primarily like sardines is just like dude, there are like souvenir shops everywhere where you can buy sardine cans.
Okay.
And so for us, it was like, hang on, like if we're gonna location gate a drop, almost like an exclusive kind of drop for people that are gonna show up at these events, this event, and whatever else we do in the future, let's show them who we really are. Let's show them that we think ahead of time and we're having fun with it. And let's just make it a play on something. So we're like, well, why don't we start making it like foods or something that they're going to recognize from that city that they're in. So our first play was the sardine cans. But then we had also thought ahead of time where we're like, well, can that sort of food attract a new Claynosaurz? What are things that we could do? But really, primarily, it was the humor. It was like, okay, let's throw in like a can of sardines because everybody that's in Lisbon is going to see sardine cans in some way or another. So they're going to know that it's like, oh, it's a Portuguese thing. And then we'll have little cute little sardines in that can with like eyeballs that are like Claynosaurz eyeballs. So it's like, it's breaking the fourth wall. It's not necessarily a part of Claytopia, or maybe now it is, because now probably it's going to be canon. But really it for us, it was about like the message, and it's like, it's going to be fun. We wanted to give people an airdrop of a quality they hadn't even seen before. The airdrop itself was like this super high-end, fun, playful, curated, like 3D thing with the eyeballs blinking. It's funny. And I mean, that had a snowball effect, because now we're on
number 3. Yeah.
People are going to go nuts for this one.
Yeah.
I love this one. This one's fun. And the question is like, what do we do next? Huh?
Right. And so that's kind of my thing. So, okay, so you guys had the croissants from France, and then you guys now have the tacos in LA, right? Yeah. And I'm looking forward to the 30 of them that you guys promised me. And the one-of-ones, you guys said I'm getting all of the one-of-ones, which is crazy nice of you guys. Super kind. I really appreciate that. I think there'd be people who would literally kill me if I got all of them. But so where does it go from here? Like, are you guys planning on, NFT New York? Are you guys going to do, pizza or rats or something?
Funny, someone else told us we should do rats. You're not the only one. And for now, it was like, it always has to be a food item, because that's really like relatable to people. And we're like, okay, it's got to be like the pizza slice.
Have we decided it's pizza slice now?
Well,
I know we were floating a few ideas. I don't touch on the creative, but I do love to hear what they're thinking.
The rat, because it's a real character, is really funny, and you're not the only person to suggest.
I mean, it's
So
what
we'll
I
see.
think of when I think of New York, even
We'll see.
before pizza. Because here's the thing: when you think of pizza, you could also think of Chicago, you could think of Detroit, you could think of Connecticut, you could think of some of these places.
And when you think of bagels, you think of either New York or Montreal, mostly Montreal.
This is true. Yeah. See, but
Depends where you're coming
I mean,
from,
yeah. But when I think of a New York, I think of the Rats. So if I'm gonna get a bunch of people from New York. They're like,
You're
hey,
gonna
fuck
get New
you,
York
buddy.
flooded.
They'll be
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
no, you're right. It's the Rats.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But yeah. So do you guys are you guys planning on doing these at every event, or like where do you think it can it stop at some point? Like, can you have too many airdrops?
I think we're always really careful with that. You don't want to dilute too much. We're doing it in a way where like each drop is inherently different from the other, so that if you were there at the right time, whether you sell it or not, that's your business. But you managed to receive a collectible that in and of itself is exclusive just by being there, and no one else could have gotten it if you hold on to it. But all of them need their own little mechanics as well. Otherwise, they're all the same. And then you sort of dilute the collectability of it. So with the sardine cans, we wanted to come out with a bang, right? Like it was like people were making jokes about, well, I don't know if you saw that original poster that we posted. Again, if you guys look at what we're doing, we're always throwing Easter eggs everywhere and like keeping everybody on their toes because it's part of the entertainment. The first poster, when we had announced a collaboration with Cupcake for Lisbon, you had like a shadow of a pterodactyl going over the sardine can because like it's funny, like seabirds love fish, whatever, right? Maybe it's going to mean something. But then very few people caught on, but a few that did, with a voice in the space, started asking for like the dactyl tax or sky chickens. And they were like, oh shit, I think we actually have to do it. And there was like 222 at the time. Now there's 221 sardine cans. And now it's going to be a thing. Like everybody knows they turn into pterodactyls, of which there will only ever be 221. Some of them will be ancient. So all of a sudden you've got people that were lucky enough to get them in Lisbon, and they will receive a new character of which in the whole kind of canon, we will never make more of, right? And that's really special. And we're like, there's so many kind of interesting things that we can do that normal collectibles can't do. You can't mutate a Pokemon card, right? You can't mutate a figurine that you bought for like $800, like a World of Warcraft collectible or whatever. But for our stuff, we can do whatever we want with it. And we can sort of gauge what is actually exciting to people. And so that in and of itself makes the whole experience like a game, and you're part of it. And you're sort of curating memories for people as well. So you've got like the pterodactyls, and then the croissants. We've been pretty vocal about it. It's going to be like an exclusive kind of.
Wait, can you say that one more time?
The croissants. Yeah, dude,
We're from Montreal, man. We're French.
I say the croissant.
I love that so much. I love this. So when I say croissant, that just like kills you inside.
You know
we have
what's
to think for a second of what you said.
Yeah.
Like, what was that?
Croissant.
What do you say?
Croissant.
Oh, croissant. So those are going to be, and like we're doing a heavy play on itemization because we want people. I think that people really grow attached to these characters the more they can customize them. And you're tapping into people's creativity, and also, let's be real, they can peacock. They can brag about like the exclusive helmet that they got, circa like Diablo vibes or World of Warcraft.
There's an exclusive helmet?
Maybe, yes. So anyways, the croissants will eventually be burnable into gear pieces, of which there's a few different slots. So again, even in its own mechanic, it's not all the same piece. So you want people to always have like the unexpected, where when it's time to burn and turn these croissant pieces into something that is tangible to the Claynosaurz, that in and of itself feels like a mini mint, of which you don't know what you're going to get. It's like rolling the dice when you were like beating a boss or finding something in World of Warcraft, and you get a little chest and you can open it and you don't know what's going to be in it. It's kind of like that, and it's fun. And so again, right now with the tacos, it's going to be similar. There's going to be different mechanics. It can't be the same. Maybe some of those gear pieces have like an inherent like buff or a cooldown that you can't get in the other kind of city item. It just has to be different, right? And then for the one-on-one pieces, this is the first time we do it. We're going to do it again for New York. Really what it is we've managed to corral some of the top artists in the space. We're so happy to be working with them. It's really special that it was really easy. Like they all said, absolutely. Like we would love to work with you guys. We really believe in what you're doing and you're bringing visibility to the space. And so John, High Blinks, Scum, and now Ricardo Cavallo, who did the art for like K-Tronata all those years ago, they've all said like, yes, fuck yeah, let's do this. So what they're going to do is they're currently working on designing item pieces for the Claynosaurz. Almost like if you ask like, hey, John, could you design like the next Ferrari? And he'll go and he'll draw how that car should look. And then our team sort of executes it and builds the car. So he's now like creative director for that, right? So that's what those artists are going to do. They're building a custom Claynosaur right now. We're going to execute it. They're also designing the armor pieces. So if you get all of them stacked together, it looks amazing, but you can still just, you still win if all you have is one of the pieces, and you can flaunt that. And it's a whole part of the whole like Twitter game as well. And an element that people love for NFTs, which is, like bragging rights. It's a big part of it, or sub DAOs or whatever. So some of those like one of one cards that you might get in the booster pack will be representative of the ability to eventually mint one of those pieces from John or those people.
Okay, so 2 questions. So 1, I'm going to put you guys on the spot. Is there anything that you guys can show me right now that I won't show the cameras, but something that I can just react to of just rough drafts or anything that I can just react to and they can just see my reaction, but they won't see anything? Is there anything, if you guys have anything on, think about it for a second.
It's all Nick, man. This guy's got a phone full of stuff, but...
Yeah, I'm going to show you. I'm going to ask, because I don't have everything on my phone. I'm going to ask someone to send me something, and then I'll show it to you after.
Okay. But then how can I react to it on the... Or, you know what?
Just text them right now, Nick, so you have it in a minute.
Yeah. I'll react to it, and then I'll input that right here. So here is my reaction to whatever Nick just showed me.
There's really only one thing I can say, that's holy shit. So after we got done recording the podcast, Nick sent me over a folder. I don't know if I was supposed to see everything that was in there, but like, holy shit. That's really all I can say. I wish I could tell you guys more. I know you guys are going to DM me, Mark, give me the alpha. I can't, okay? Listen, they swore me to secrecy. This shit looks incredible. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Claynos to the damn moon. That's all I can say.
There we go. Okay, so then my next question for you is there going to be a time when people are able to get, like, because obviously there are people who just aren't able to either financially make it to some of these events and things like that, or they work a 9 to 5 or something. So crazy. Every once in a while people work 9 to 5s. I always forget those exist.
You know what sucks is these events always happen like midweek.
Right, because we don't have enough money yet in the NFT space for us to be to afford to go to places on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays.
That's what I was thinking.
Hotels are way too expensive, so we got to do it during the week. But is there a plan eventually to do some of these airdrops in ways that aren't like in real life events?
Absolutely. So like we did the Claymaker airdrops, we did the Clay airdrops, and one of the things that we were really careful about, and it is a question that we do get, is like, well, look, like I don't get to go to this event, like that seems unfair, and I'm like, you guys will get your time. Like if you've been paying attention to what we were doing from the start, we've made sure that if you hold a Claynosaur, like you get a lot of stuff that's really cool, right? And you don't know what you'll get, but you'll get things. So for sure, for the holders that are at home and the holders in general, there will be cycles of airdrops that allow you to win. Like we always want like everybody to have the chance of winning, of getting something cool.
Well, I mean, also from a resource, like we recognize that like, our community is not necessarily able to all come out to all these events. So we're here to serve like the vast majority of those people, right? Which, like you said, it's mostly people who aren't coming, right? It's hard to get out here in the middle of the week, depending where you live and all these things. So like, I would say 90% of our time is going into building all the things that go towards the whole Claynosaurz community. And like a small fraction of our time goes towards these things.
Yeah.
But because these things happen more frequently, especially now in this like current cycle where we're just doing like LA now, and we just got back from Paris and now New York's coming. It seems like all our effort goes towards this, but I could tell you it does not.
Yeah, it's just a marketing cycle, right? Like it just like Andrew says, they're all like so concentrated next to each other.
There's a lot of things going on in the background, like a lot of things.
And we'll get right into those things.
I've had this whole week people telling me like, "Oh, you must be so busy with LA." I'm like, "Oh yeah, LA is this week." We got a whole team working on that, and I'm working on a bunch of other things, and Nick's working on a bunch of other things.
100%. So I want to talk a little bit more about marketing. So one of the things that I feel like you guys are known for is your incredible meme game. So you guys are fast as hell with these memes. I swear you tweet out anything, it's like Claynosaurz responds. They got the perfect edit on the meme. It's incredible. So can you talk about, was that a strategy that you guys like organically just kind of created, or was that something that you guys had planned out for a long time?
You got to give credit where credit's due, though.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, so it's actually so we've got the Nick's twin Phil.
You're gonna see him tonight.
There we go.
He's got his own personal Twitter
Are you guys
account.
identical?
No, they're not identical.
Okay.
But you could tell they're twins.
Okay.
Fraternal, but we look similar.
Okay.
Really similar.
Okay.
Well, it's because you guys have like a distinct sort of like red hair gingerness.
That's
Yeah.
it. It's the gingerness.
I'm like their best bud for a long time. I can
Do
say it.
gingers
No one
have
else
souls?
can say it.
Only on Mondays.
Fair.
Today's Sunday, so
Wait, yeah. So tomorrow.
tomorrow's is one day on. Anyway, so Phil is like, if you get him talking about like the meme economy, which is like his favorite term of all time, he'll go off on a Nick style tangent for ages. But he spends all bloody day, doing the memes, and he'll like I don't even realize how active he is sometimes, because I'll log on after like a long day, be like, holy crap, like it's like all these things going on. And some of them are so golden. Like I'll be sitting in bed, like scrolling before I go to sleep, and I'm like pissing myself laughing. It's like they're so good.
I think that's where like we knew he was onto something when sometimes he posts stuff and it's like it's on the fringe, or sometimes he posts stuff and like you look at it and you're like, that's hilarious.
They're good.
Like and the thing sort of is its own beast. It runs itself, which is great, because like for us it's a surprise. Sometimes it's like, oh, this is hilarious.
Phil runs it. But you know what it is? He's really good at like being really in tune with like current events, current trends, like what's popular in that moment, right? Because like Web3, or not just Web3, like Web2, Twitter, news cycles nowadays move so quickly that like a meme at like 2:00 is funny, but the same meme at like 6:00 might not be. So he's so like plugged into what's going on around the world, because he'll also do like hilarious comments on like random news events or something totally outside of crypto Twitter, and it hits so well.
Oh, dude!
And so he's really plugged in. I mean, I think that's the recipe.
I think he's plugged into what's funny, just in general, and a play on expectation as well. And to answer the question on strategies is, from the start, we knew we had to be organic, like 100%. We had so many people approaching us like, hey, like paid promotion. We're like, absolutely not, because this thing is dead in the water. Like we're not trying to get 100K followers to get to the mint and then be dead in the water. We were trying to curate like a real fan base, a cult following, so that once we mint, we have an army behind us, and they will push our product into the world because they genuinely believe in it or like it, and so that was always the mantra. And so Phil's strategy was like, we're not really doing the RT and tag thing ever. We are going to be very careful about that stuff. But what we are going to do, which other projects weren't really doing, is the Twitter page is going to have a voice. And your voice as founder is going to be its own thing. If you want to talk like a boomer, that's your thing, basically. But I get slapped on the wrist all the time where he's like, oh, you sound too serious. But we have like two separate voices. And for him, it was like, well, look, the Twitter page is going to have its own voice and be a player in this ecosystem and comment in a funny way as the main page on other founders' stuff or people that have a big voice or just anyone in general. And I think there's power in that because one, it's funny, but second, it's like, it's not tone deaf. It feels like we know what this space is about.
It makes you real, right?
Mm-hmm. It is real.
Like go to like, I'm a big fan of Disney, but like go to their Twitter account.
It's so boring.
It's like corporate, right? It's like, we're announcing a movie. Oh, cool. Like our Twitter account is like, hey, like we're just like messing about with the community and entertaining people. And it means that people like associate to the brand. Like what resonates with people? It's like when you feel like part of something, or when you see a character in a movie that like you can reflect on in your own life, right? You're like, oh yeah, I've had that struggle, or I've had my heart broken, or whatever, movies resonate with people. And so like when the Twitter account is like actively commenting on things that you're thinking about already, like current events and what's funny that day or what's going on, suddenly you're like, oh yeah, like Claynosaurz kind of knows me, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And it also feeds into the whole social relevance aspect of things, which is really important to NFT projects. Is like in a time where you guys are building really, really cool things, you have to still find a way to stay relevant for people to think about Claynosaurz, right? Because it's very much an attention economy, and we've got a ton of people who are constantly trying to gain that attention from you, right? Mm-hmm. And so as a result, when you guys are, constantly in the comments and things like that, it makes it where no matter where you're looking, you're going to see a Claynosaurz, right?
Exactly. So the idea was that, look, making this 3D sort of stuff takes time. Like eventually we'll have the momentum, the assets will be there, the trees, the whatever that we use in our content, the Claynosaurz themselves. But we need to sort of entertain people from every angle. It's not just the NFTs and sort of like the dinosaurs themselves. It's the Twitter account as well. That is a place of humor. That is a place of entertainment, because content is not just visual. It's also writing. It's, well, you know this very well. It's what you do as well, right? It's voice. And so that was always the play, is to keep people on their toes, get them to relate to the Claynosaurz page and brand and image. And you're buying yourself time when you do that. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it just lets the artist work on what they have to work on, while the Twitter page is like holding down the fort, really like building a voice for the product.
100%. So, okay, so now I want to talk about another thing that you guys did that I thought was absolutely genius, is that when you guys put out the Claynosaurz, you guys had the full body 3D characters, but then you guys also had the ability for you to get the GIF, for you guys to get the PFP, and I thought that was absolutely brilliant, because one of my biggest, I guess, gripes with 3D art that we've seen is a lot of times it's full body and they're cool characters, but they don't make great PFPs, right? And so you guys obviously thought about that, and so can you walk me through the process of like what that was like, of, hey, we're going to create, you know, this, what is the 10,000 collection?
Yeah.
10,000 we're going to make 10,000 of these Claynosaurz, and then we're also going to make on top of that 10,000 PFPs. I can't imagine how long it took to render all of that.
Man, I love that you're asking that question, because I was always going to write a thread on, people don't realize how complex what we did was. Because again, like, do you notice how many projects have done that? Not many.
Right.
In 3D, basically none. And I know that people are going to say like, oh, there's been like a recent few 3D projects that have done it. But what they did is they basically cropped the existing version to make it a PFP. Like, that's really what it was. For us, again, we come from this, like, we curate everything, and it had to be this experience that people hadn't seen before. So you've got the Claynosaurz, right? And they're doing their thing, a full body, they're walking. It's 48 frames, and it's a lot to render. It's the amount of frames that we rendered was more than twice the length of your average movie. It's a lot of frames. We had an amazing partner, like Conductor Render, helping us with the renders. And they do stuff with, like, you know, they've rendered stuff for the Avengers and things like that. But basically, we were doing the full body, and then it has its own camera, and it's pointing at a Claynosaur doing something with a specific face pose. And then what we've done is we've also set up a separate camera that's pointed at that Claynosaur, which is not walking or moving, because it would be like a weird pose for the PFP. But it's positioned in a way that's really good for that face pose. And then you're telling the computer, okay, so now you're going to render like the red T-Rex that has a smug face that is like galloping, right? That's running fast. And that's the NFT. And then you're also telling the computer, you're also going to take this camera that the animators have curated just for that profile picture. You're going to take that same smug face pose, but it's the version that's been curated for the PFP, because it doesn't necessarily look perfect at that angle for the camera that's set up for the profile picture. Then you're going to take a snapshot of that and re-render it just for the PFP and attribute it in the code to that same NFT, and then allow us to draw from it in the metadata in the PFP generator. We're really proud of that. It's a lot of work, but it's basically two separate NFTs that are packaged together. Like, and there's different levels of work done for both. It's pretty crazy. We're doing it.
I think a lot of people think you just zoom in.
Yeah.
No.
They're just like, yeah, they just zoom in. Like, it's not that complicated. Like,
Dude,
it's
not.
a lot.
It's like literally there's a new camera,
Yeah.
and it's like the smug face when he's running, and he's running like that is like whatever. Like, it's funny. But for the PFP, it's got to be like a smug where he's like
looking at the camera, right? Like, you got to be.
His face is really smug. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, it's honestly, it's one of the most impressive accomplishments when I saw that you guys did that, because I know from just exporting photos, from exporting
Yeah.
these videos for podcasts. Like, I know how much work it takes to do that. And then obviously, like on a 3D, I can't even fathom how much work that could be. But I was just, when you guys came out with those, I just, in my mind, I was like, man, I can only imagine how much work that was, how much like time and energy went into that. And it's one hell of an accomplishment. But also, if you hadn't done that, if you had waited to do that, I think it would have had an extremely negative effect on the project, because it's also something where we work in this Twitter sphere where people want that PFP. They want to be able to rock that. They want to be able to post it immediately. And so because you guys had that, I think it was damn near the same day or same week or whatever, because of that, it was something where people were able to rock it as a PFP immediately, which once again continues to help with the social relevancy aspect of things.
Dude, absolutely. Like, and it's so funny because early in the production, we're like, man, it's not like D-Gods. It's not like other projects where they were built as PFP projects. We're like, how are we going to pull this off? Like, can they be PFP projects? Can the Claynosaurz be a good PFP? And we only found that out when we gave it a try and we really fixed the poses. And Dan Jarvis, who's the art director, was like, really drawing over everything we were doing to make sure the face poses look good. Once we saw the first render and it made us laugh, we're like, okay, I think we're going to be fine. These are actually hilarious.
You guys, I mean, we know what you should show Marc is those, like, all the rule sets for, like, the face posing and all that stuff. Like, he makes it sound like they thought about it for 15 minutes. They've got, like, pages and pages and pages of rule sets for, like, where the face goes, where it doesn't go. When I first jumped on, I was like, holy moly. I'm like, this is real. Yeah. Like, this is for real.
And like, what was, I think for us, the most exciting and scary day was Mint. But it was scary because of, as an artist, it's like, it's the big reveal, but also it's like, are we going to mint out? The whole FTX thing happened. It was a really special day for the whole team. But it was really exciting for the reveal because we knew that classically the reveal is a letdown, not for every project, but it has been for many, like quick buck projects. And for us, we're like, oh my God, like we can't wait for people to see like what we've pulled off. And when the reveals happened, because we were making people wait, I think it was a day and a half.
It was a long 3 days, man. Because I got my Clayno, I was waiting for that map,
yeah,
and I was waiting, and because I had seen them before, right? But I didn't have mine revealed. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to see what I'm gonna get.
Me too. Like, and the excitement on Twitter when they started getting revealed, and everybody was like, these look so much better than I thought. Like, it was a magical moment.
But when the whole team is holding like their own thing, and they're all jacked up to see what they got. Like, you built a good product, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like when you're excited to eat your own dinner, like it's like you're not just serving someone else now.
Yeah, I minted my Claynosaurz when I was playing pickleball, and so I was like,
oh yeah, you told us.
Yeah. Oh, these are
yeah. So if you scroll through that, like it's basically every species has its own kind of do's and don'ts. How far back does the smile go based on the species? How big do the eyes get? What expressions don't they? So, like there's just so much. And
have you guys put these out?
We have, but it gets lost in Twitter. I think what we want to do is we want to do like an art book. Dude, we have like hundreds of pages. We want to do this art book eventually, which is more like a yearbook of
like your Harry Potter book.
Yeah. I mean,
but a yearbook with like, I don't want to give too much away, but that includes the community. So maybe there's quotes that were really special as that from someone's tweet. And so each page is going to have tweets.
You're going to get so many tweets right now, dude.
You know what I mean? Like,
special quotes are going into a Claynosaurz art book.
Everybody feels like they were there. They were there for this like year and a half crazy ass process. And hopefully they're going to be there for the future as well. But like it has to feel intimate, right?
This is the stuff that I love about this is, and like if you're open to it, send me some of these and I'll post them in this when we're talking about this. Yeah. But like when I'm looking at this, the amount of thought that goes into the decisions with it is what makes me appreciate it so much more, because I think a lot of times when you see something, if you see even like a movie or you listen to a song and then you hear about the creative process with that, you come away from it with so much more appreciation for what was created, right? And so it's almost like when you hear when a music artist is describing like, here was my inspiration for this song. It was this moment that I had gone through this really hard time. Yeah. Or even like the other day, like Linkin Park put out a song called Lost, which was originally created back in the like 15 years ago when they put out one of their other albums, and it was basically a throwaway song that didn't make the cut of the album because they already had a song that had a similar feel to it, but it was, and the similar feel song was Numb, which is one of their biggest songs of all time. And so this song took me back to like listening to Linkin Park as a kid, because you could also tell that it was made at that time, right? And so they kept it very authentic to that moment. And so when I heard that interview with Mike Shinoda, I was like, dude, I'm visualizing like Chester Bennington creating this, and it just like, it makes you appreciate the song so much more. Well, now it's one of the most listened to Linkin Park songs, right? Yeah. And so I think it's something where the context makes you appreciate so much more of what was created. And so when I'm looking at these and I'm seeing all of this, I'm like, man, it just, the amount of thought that goes into it. And even just like, it's not like these are just like, you know, little drawings that you guys made or whatever. Like when I think of a rule set, I think of like written rules. This is like, they're beautifully curated. Like this is, the whole process of it is just so beautiful. And I'm excited for people to see these, because once again, it's the stuff that makes people then, you know, when they sell that PFP, it hurts that much more, because, or when they're even thinking about selling it, they're like, I can't do that because I appreciate it so much. And that's the stuff that builds this incredible audience of community members that really, really care for what you guys are doing, because they appreciate it so much more than just a JPEG on the internet, you know? Yeah. And so we talk often, I literally tweeted out the other day, like, this is far bigger than JPEGs. And the sooner you realize that, like, the better off you are. Yeah. And it really does, when we have episodes like this and we hear these, you know, I don't even know how long we've been recording now. I have a timer here, but like when people, we've already gone for an hour and 20, and like, we're going to keep this going. I still have more questions, but when people then hear this, like, it just, once again, it makes you appreciate it so much more, and it makes it where it is so much more than JPEGs, because it makes you excited to go tell somebody else about this, because it's not something where you're like, oh, they put in a little bit of effort and just had this, these random like memes every once in a while. It's like, no, there's thought process into the memes. There's thought process into the PFPs. There's thought process into everything that you guys are doing, into the croissants and the, and whatever you guys are doing with Portugal, with the Sardines, and like all of that. There's so much thought, and it just makes you appreciate it that much more.
It's our voice. And that was the plan the whole time. It's like, what we do and what we release should always feel like a statement of sorts, without us having to say much, and that was always the plan. So I'm glad you.
It's interesting that you brought up this like making of thing, that these videos, they when something hits hard, they have like, they're scrambling for more stuff afterwards, like, oh, let's do a making of, like, let's show everyone what we did to make it. But like, doesn't it make a lot more sense to have the making of come before the thing? Yeah, which is like what we're doing.
Well, that's the journey, right? Like, that's what we're talking about.
The journey is fun.
The narrative.
It's so much fun. Yeah. It's crazy that like that making of thing is always coming out after the movie. Like, what's the point of that? Like, I've already enjoyed the movie.
Right, and that's why I talk about, like, in it sometimes it feels like I'm pumping my own bags when I talk about like the importance of these podcasts, but like,
go on.
There's something special about like having this conversation, and like by the time we're done with this, it'll be a 2-hour episodes, and there will be people who will listen to all of this. They'll send it out to people. There will be people who listen to this a few times, because there's little nuggets that you're going to pick up as time goes on, as you listen again and again and again, and then it's going to be really cool to look back as like, when you guys are the number one project on Solana. Like, I have no doubt that you guys will be, and that's not a shot on any other projects. Like, I think it's really important that we get more and more projects over 100 floor price. We need to have 4 or 5 projects that are at 500 floor. Like, and I really do believe you guys will be one of those. And I'm not just saying that because I have a few Claynosaurz, but it's because my belief in you guys and what you're doing with the project and everything like that. So I want to take it into the IP next of Claynosaurz, and that's something when I did the podcast episode with Luke and Netz from Pudgy Penguins, he talked a lot about IP and his long-term belief of like the Pudgy Penguins IP is something that's super marketable, and obviously so is the Claynosaurz IP. And so I want to hear a little bit more of your guys' thoughts on the Claynosaurz IP and kind of where you guys would like to take it and what you think is possible with it.
Oh my God! Like, what's not possible with it? No, I mean, both of us are going to answer this. And I mean, for me, it's they're dinosaurs. Dinosaurs it's so like culturally agnostic. Everybody loves dinos. Like, you grow up fascinated by these things that were larger than life, right? They're also kind of like gender agnostic, the way we've built them, and also the way they speak. We actually got asked that question the other day, like, what are they going to say? Like, what do they speak? I'm like, right now, it's more like Minions, where it's like they sort of like mumble, they roar, they do funny things, because really it's the pantomime and how it makes you feel that's funny, not necessarily what they're saying.
You can say so much with saying so little, right? Like, like the
Except
Minions. Yeah, well, you can. But the character, well, ironically, the characters you animate like Nick's one of the, I mean, Nick's like pumping everyone else on the team, but Nick's one of the top animators on the planet, right? So like when he animates something, it's like, it's good, right? But you can like knowing Nick and then seeing the character animated, you can kind of like, it comes across really well.
So yeah, so back to the IP is for us, it's, you know, the way I see it, I've always seen it when we were building this thing out is something between Minions and Angry Birds, where it's something that just has so much global appeal and that you can see everywhere. Toys have always been a big sort of wish fulfillment for me. Like I would absolutely love, like they've been designed to look like toys. Like even, you know, the way we've designed the legs and the squishy feet and all that stuff, it's so that if ever there's like figurines, they can stand in a way, and it's good for teddy bears. It's good for, you know, they're designed in a way that would appeal to make adults smile as much as kids. And we've seen that. Like, I don't know if you saw the video of like Jux's kid.
Oh, I love those videos.
Yes. That video
They're
amazing.
so cute.
That's
yeah.
like, you watch that and his like joy when he's looking at it and he's just pointing and going, oh, just like looking at a Claynosaurz, like, dude, that's energy. But really for us, it was everything. It's a branding and licensing play, really. So you've got merchandise, and again, I'm going to let Andrew get into this, but you've got merchandise, you've got a lot of short form content. That's what we're going to focus on the most recently, because you need to build leverage for your IP. And what I mean by that is a lot of people have to know about your stuff. You have to get those millions of views eventually for when you're having discussions with people that would want to license your product. So for us, yeah, again, it'll be to license out that IP to eventually make movies and long form content, like the kind of like long form, you know, video game when that comes. It's not necessarily the Web3 sort of game that we're sort of building right now. It's a different thing, but it's everything, man. For me, I see it a lot like Mario even. So, you know, like, I think it's an example I use a lot actually is, well, there's two examples. So if we look at Mario now, you've seen the trailer?
Yeah.
It's hilarious. And I'm excited about the Mario trailer. But would I have been excited about it all those years ago when Mario was like, it's year one release of Nintendo and like, oh, Super Mario Bros, whatever, and they're coming out with a movie? Like that, I wouldn't have cared because I wouldn't already be attached to the characters. So for us, we're doing that similar play where it's like we want people to get to know this brand, get to know these characters. You know, each character is going to have their own distinct personalities in a world where they're heroes. So like, you know, you've got the Rex, the Stego, whatever. They all have their distinct personalities. And eventually people are going to like these characters through the short form content enough to be able to swallow the pill of a long form content, where now it's like you announce something like maybe the TV show comes out or the movie or whatever, like in a couple of years. Now I'm ready for it. And actually Angry Birds did it super well. The movie is, if you have seen the movie, it's actually hilarious and it's fun. But can you imagine if Angry Birds had released a movie, you know, a year after the first mobile game came out? Like nobody would have cared. But there's a moment at which people generally grow attached to these characters and are ready for that sort of content. And again, I'm rambling, so I'm going to kick it off there.
Yeah, I think Nick touched on a lot of stuff in there. But the question is sort of like the IP is great because of how these guys build it and how much effort goes into it. And that's kind of what I was saying with Nick being such a great animator and making that come to life. And then the question is, okay, like these guys create, and then on the business side, we think like, how do you distribute, right? So, you know, you have to be careful on how you do it, right? Because a brand can make, I mean, there's an expression, I think it's like 1,000 great experiences make a brand and like one bad one ruins it. So we're lucky that the quality of the product they're making is always so top notch, but you can make mistakes on the distribution side. Like you can hit the merch like too early and do it wrong, or you can, you know, make a toy too quickly and not distribute it in the correct places. So you've got to be planned in that sense too, right? So
that it feels cohesive as well.
So it feels cohesive, right? And there's an order of events, right? It's not just like, let's just hit all these distribution channels, right? Like our distribution channels now are like, you know, Twitter, we talked about like the meme stuff. Obviously we've got all the NFTs and all the things that go around with that. We've got the sort of guerrilla marketing when we go into these different regions and drop the different food items, so to speak. We're building out, like the natural next step for us is building out, you know, more product for Web3. That is to say, like we're building a game on our website. That'll be like Claytopia, and that'll be like a home for all the Clayno NFTs. And so like there's like this natural path. And then the question after that is like, well, how do you like merchandise, for instance? Like merchandising is fairly big for any brand. But before that, there's a natural step of like propagating the IP beyond just Web3, right? Like we could obviously sell merch and toys to the existing community, but I think the existing community doesn't just want to be them. They want more people in, right? Like you're a Clayno holder. Like wouldn't it be nice instead of having like 3,500 other holders and some other people on Twitter and Discord that suddenly Claynosaurz is like, it's huge, right? Yeah. Like you can hold like the Michael Jordan rookie card, but it doesn't mean you want there to be no other fans for the Bulls, right? Like you want there to be other fans, right? So what we're doing is like naturally building out what we know I think the community wants to participate in. And then we're also thinking like, we want there to be more fans in general. And we want them, like, it would be great if those people came in to Web3 into the NFT space. And we think they will, like, as that becomes more and more frictionless, which goes back to our conversation on Solana. But even if they don't right away, you can still use this IP in so many different ways, right? So like Nick said, short form content might resonate really well, like on TikTok, on YouTube, on Instagram, and all those other platforms that that people consume on, especially people like that this brand would work with, which I mean, we're family friendly, but you know, I think a lot of people really like it. So it's kind of easy to pick where you go. And then beyond that, like if you want to do shows and TV and movies or whatever it might be, like you think beyond it, but you don't just like haphazardly like throw out merch. I think a lot of companies in general are forced to find revenue very quickly, right? Because you're just like, oh shit, like I've got a VC or I've got an investor or, you know, I put my own money into this. Like what's the quickest path to revenue? And one of the beauties of Web3 and having this great community is that, you know, we pick up enough sort of revenue like through royalties and all these things that we can invest back into the company in such a way that doesn't force us to like force a licensing agreement. And I've got questions like that from people like, okay, like let's do some licensing. No, I don't really want to talk to Hasbro right now. Like what we're doing is Play-Doh, right? Like it's kind of like Play-Doh, right? It's not too far off. So, but like, why would I do that now when we're going to have like, you know, maybe 50 million followers in 2 years, right?
Yeah, it's the same discussion of like leveraging the IP is, and you know, it's so funny because I was having that discussion with Min recently, who comes from the ETH side of things and is now super interested in Solana. And he sort of hit the nail on the head where he's like, can you guys imagine what it would have been like to build minions via TikTok? You know, like at the time at which they were making Minions and Despicable Me and all that stuff, that was never the play. Even today, it's not really the play. That is a play that we want to do where we are sort of a Web3 native IP. And there are ways that we can sort of propagate this thing much more efficiently and effectively than the traditional model, which is what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, I mean,
we are going to do.
Yeah, damn right. Yeah, I mean, I think about it as a holder of Claynos, right? I'm like, okay, so, you know, in the hierarchy of like what I think can be done, and then also taking into consideration like the time it takes to do certain things right, you know, I think, okay, in the long term, I see them doing a movie. I see them doing a TV show. I see that happening, but I see that probably being like 3 or 4 years from now, because realistically, if you build enough demand where Claynosaurz becomes this like household item, maybe from plushies or something along those lines, then you will have the you know, big studios that will come in, and at that point, like, you need more manpower, you need more money, you need more, you know, more resources and things like that. Okay, well, we're not going to get that right now. And if you guys said, hey, we're going to take all the mint funds and like go and try and do that right now, realistically, you'd have no money to run the rest of the project, right? And you'd need far more money than what you currently have available, right? And so it's like, realistically, it would take more time to do that and do that right, you know? I think about, as a holder, I'm like, okay, you know, I think the reason why merch has become such a huge thing is because people want to, they want to rock it and they want to feel, they want to flaunt it and everything like that. And I think now that we've gotten past the like beginning of NFT merch, which was like really shitty quality, like Gildan and like bullshit. Like now I think we've kind of gotten to the point where people want the high quality merch. They want embroidery. They want the nice, they want to feel good rocking it. And they don't want it to be something corny. We're not trying to look lamer than we already, you know, look to some people, right? So we want something where if I'm rocking this, I don't look like a 30-year-old who's rocking like a shirt made for a 10-year-old design wise, right? Like
it feels designer.
Right.
Feels,
It feels high quality. And then at the same time, then I think about, okay, after merch, because merch is kind of like that's one that can probably be done in a pretty easy time point, right? Then I think about like plushies, and I'm like, okay, those you want when you have the right distributors, they're going to be able to get them into mass markets. Because yes, if you guys put out plushies tomorrow, would I buy one? Of course. But like also, I don't really have a huge I don't know where I would put that plushie in my house or whatever. But I would rather buy that for like my nephew or like little cousins or things like that, right? And so then I think about, but I don't want it where it's just like people who are holders excited about it. I want those to be, I can't remember what are the there's
marketing tools.
There's the big like stuffed animals right now that are like, I feel like I see like 25-year-olds and 30-year-olds buying them right now, primarily women. I can't remember the name of them, but they're like some like big animal plushie basically that are high value. I think those right now are like, if you cater them to the right market and you put them out in the right way, all of a sudden you have all these people who are not just NFT people, but also not just like 10-year-olds, but like 30-year-olds who want these things. And that's where it becomes this highly sought after item. And now all of a sudden everybody wants it. And then if you're at the same time, if you're doing all of this, you're still hitting people with the memes, you're hitting people with the TikTok content and the Instagram Reels content and everything like that. And whatever new medium comes out, if you're hitting people from all avenues, all of a sudden it becomes, I know Claynosaurz. I don't necessarily know why I know it, but I know it, right?
Yeah.
And it's a similar feel to like what Pokemon has developed where everybody knows Pokemon. How you know it is different by person to person, right? Some people know it from the TV show. Some people know it from the cards. Some people know it from the video games. Some people know it from the Logan Paul buying a, PSA 10 Charizard. Like, people know it for different reasons, but either way, you know it. And I feel like that is the IP that you guys have developed is where Claynosaurz will be everywhere in due time. And if you do things in the right way and roll things out in a fashion where people are dying for it, they really, really want it. And then if you build it out that way, it becomes where like Claynosaurz is inevitable to just be this huge, huge brand.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I don't want to sound cocky when I say this, but I think there's a really special feeling of I was there when it started.
Yeah,
the same way you find an artist that you like before they get famous, and you're like, man, like I knew this artist before you guys all started listening to him or her. Like,
He says that all the time. That's why I'm laughing.
I know. I use this example, but
I discovered them first,
dude. Yeah, no, it was actually Bunjil that from Lily that had made that analogy one day, and he's like, you get to make a sort of bet on a culture play or what you think will be a culture play, and traditionally, you had no rewards for that, but now it's like you as a holder, there are so many perks you can get on top of just like the value of the collectible itself, right? There's a lot. It's a membership club.
It's like buying an exclusive character for like Diablo before it comes out. And now like the game launches and it's super successful and you can play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With that character, which is like, pre-game. You know what I mean? Like it's so
on top of the fact
powerful.
that some of these characters that we see the community sort of like elevate, like Wilbur is a good example.
Yeah.
That will become canon. Why shouldn't it? It's like we're getting these cues from the community. It's fucking hilarious. Like maybe in some of the short content that we put out, every now and then, like Wilbur is going to come in and photobomb like a little shit and come out of the frame. and that is also a message of like, we see you guys and you're there at the start and your character is going to be a part of this as well. And I think there's a level of rush and emotional attachment that comes from that. Myself included. This is so stupid, but like recently some of the gifts we did, like one of the gifts was basically my red T-Rex doing like the little happy shack thing.
Yeah.
And it's my character, and I'm there when we're building it, right behind the scenes. But as soon as it becomes a GIF, and it's my T-Rex doing the little dance thing, it's really special to me. And so that is definitely something we're going to tap into as well.
Love that. Love that. So another question on the IP aspect of things. How much do you guys pay attention to other projects and what they're building and what they're doing when they have a similar, like highly marketable project like Pudgy Penguins and what Luca Nets is doing with them?
I mean, I think we're always looking around at everyone, but it's not just a Web3 thing, right? Like IP comes from all kinds of places. Like I often refer to like Disney or Pixar, which is also Disney, but all these other brands and see like, how do they think of things? How do other people in our space think of things? And I mean, the space is so fast moving and even like, the taste in the population moves like, every day. You've got to be on top of it, right? So, if you're not educating yourself and looking around like what other people are doing, you could like, obviously end up in a place where you emerge from this dark cave and it's like a whole different world, So we pay attention, But I don't think it's something where we're like, oh, that was great, let's do that. You know, it's not copycatting. It's just ensuring that you're still, you know, relevant, right? Yeah. I mean, I think we're in a really fortunate position where the product resonates so well with so many people that we kind of get to drive the ship a little bit too, like on where people go, right? So, and we take that seriously. So we're looking around, but it's not like a competitive thing. It's not a.
It's more like a market study, but a lot of times we want to curate really healthy relationships with those projects as well. Like Pudgy's, you know, like with Luca, you know, we're starting to really nurture like a cool relationship, and I think that for us, it's a little bit of market research, and like anything, you're always looking at competition. Such a I don't want to use that word because to me it sounds negative. It's not negative, but you're sort of like looking at the competition, like what are they doing that's working, or what are they doing that's not working. And we need to know why it's not working so that we don't do it. Yeah. You know, like there's also that element of it as well. And so we did so much market research in the months leading up to Mint. Again, a big play for Phil the intern. But it's a whole part of it is, you know, but like Andrew says, we're very much comfortable in our own lane as well. Like we have to be confident if you're doing an IP play, and I think that's a strength that Luca has. Is you have to be confident in your own menu, right? Like if you're going to be a chef,
you can't be copycatting, right?
Yeah,
like you got to be doing something new, but it can't be so crazy that people are like, "What in the world are you doing?" Right? And these guys, like the creative guys, Nick, Dan, and the rest of the team, frankly, like they're always pushing the envelope, like just a little bit, and it's like the perfect amount of push, right?
Do you guys think about too when you're talking about like and once again we use the term competition because it's easy to say like, oh, do you guys look at the competition, yada yada
it's
yada,
like a
right?
keyword.
Yeah. But I don't truly. I always say all the time I hate when people pit projects against each other because to me it's like the dumbest thing in the world. Like,
dude, we're all doing something like really special, and then the next like year or two, it's like we're all like ground floor of what Web3 is. Mm-hmm. It's not so much competition as it is like unity. You know, like it's really special.
Right. And that's how it should be. Like I look at, you know, everybody has the ability to succeed in this space. And I don't think one project, you know, being successful is going to hurt another project for being successful. At the end of the day, we need more projects that are highly marketable because that's going to bring more eyeballs to the market. And that's what we're all looking for. Do you guys also look at other projects and think of like ways that you could collaborate with those? Because obviously that can create even more like love for a project from, you know, if you guys were to do a collaboration with Pudgy Penguins, now all of a sudden you've got all these ETH people who are looking at your project, even though it's Solana, and saying, hey, like maybe now, hey, you know what, if I'm going to get into a Solana project, I'm going to get into, you know, Claynosaurz because they did this collaboration with Pudgy Penguins. Is that something that you guys think about?
It's a huge play for us. And I think that that's the beauty with Web3 is that right now, my idea of the metaverse currently is actually cross-pollination of different projects, is the fact that they're all in this ecosystem, and it's sort of like a kind of Marvel vibe to it. So for sure, for us, like cross-pollinating the IPs with other IPs that we really vibe with is a really important play for many reasons. But I think when you break the fourth wall like that, it makes the whole thing more special to the user. So, I mean, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, like I think it was the first Iron Man or the first like Hulk with Edward Norton where, it was a Hulk. The first time they did a post-credit scene. Mm-hmm. It was the first time ever you saw a character from another movie that you knew come into a different movie. Now that's standard. That's just like, that's what they do. But I remember the feeling of the first time I saw that Tony Stark is in the Hulk movie. Like, what the fuck? It's like Robert Downey Jr. And there's a rush that comes with that. And for us, it's like when we feature the Claynos with like the ovals for Elixir or with other projects, I think that's really special for both holders because it makes everybody in the ecosystem think that, oh, these are actually like brands and products. And it makes it feel, in a weird way, it makes it feel more real. Yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, no, that makes
sense.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, I think a lot about like even like Chicago PD, a TV show.
Yeah,
they have Chicago Fire, they have Chicago something else. I can't remember, but I remember like the first like cross episode collaboration they did where characters from Chicago PD were on Chicago Fire, and I was like, dude, this is super cool. Like they're two separate shows. I get they have a similar vibe, but like now you've got, you know, characters from one show coming into the other, and it just. Yeah, as a viewer, as somebody who enjoys it, you're like, that's really, really cool to see. And once again, I think it's what adds to the love of you know, of these projects.
Yeah, that's what the metaverse is for me for now.
Yeah,
you know, it's really just all the like Ready Player One. It's that same
Yes,
kind of
100%.
This is so cool.
Did you see that book I have over there
Yeah.
too?
Yeah. But I don't mean like in a 3D world right now. I just mean like look at all these brands that we now know that are staples in Web3, and they're like doing stuff together and they're like talking about each other. Like that is the current like vibe and metaverse.
100%.
Yeah.
So my next question for you guys is, do you guys have plans to take this multi-chain? You know, that's obviously been something big that we've seen recently, where people are either coming up with some are moving over to ETH, some are moving over to Polygon. I don't know what projects, but some are doing that. And then we've also seen people that have started to do more with Bitcoin and things like that. Is that something that you guys think about, not necessarily in the near future, but long term? Do you guys see yourself being a multi-chain project?
I mean, I don't think at the moment we're thinking about that. I think for now, because it goes back to us, for us being like a larger entertainment brand, that's not just like Web3 only, the necessity to have that like frictionless interaction that we only find on Solana currently means that we're only considering Solana at the moment. I mean, there obviously are benefits, like for other projects that, let's say, are not necessarily based on entertainment, but they're based on community and they're based on like social groups and things like that. Now you think like, well, I'd like to kind of see who's over here and who's over there. And in that environment, you don't really need to think too much about the tech, right? So it makes sense for projects. So I don't want to say like, oh, they're making a mistake or anyone like that, but it makes a lot of sense for a lot of projects. I just don't think it makes sense for our project today.
And what we are doing is we're tapping into trying to attract people from a different ecosystem into Solana just to get some eyeballs on us and the ecosystem as a whole.
Yeah, something that doesn't like I find very weird. You asked me before, like what strikes you like since entering this like more full force into Web3, is like different chains and people being like, I'm just on this chain. There's not that much friction like going from one chain to another. No. So it's like saying like, well, like I'm only gonna live in Montreal. I'm never gonna travel to New York. It's like, why not? Like it's actually pretty awesome over there. Like you don't have to be like one. Like you can. I think it's very natural for people to just like come and explore. Like why not? So I think what our view is like just come and explore. Like it's fun over here.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to the point. Like I've always said, I'm like at the end of the day, I'm a profit and fun maxi. Like I
Right.
enjoy making some good money and I enjoy having fun while doing it. And so if that means
Why not both?
Yeah, like why not? And so if it means that you can like if there's a project on ETH that I think is really dope, then okay, if I can afford it, I want to buy into that project. If there's a project on Solana that I think is really dope, I want to buy into it and all that. What I do know is that once this whole like world that we're in is mainstream and we've got millions and millions of people who are buying NFTs all day, every day, they're not going to give a shit about what blockchain they're buying it on. It's going to be, right. If there's a reason why they want it, they're going to want to buy it. They don't, and we're not at that point. It'll be so frictionless. Nobody will even know what blockchain you're buying it on. There will be so many ways. Like we're still so much in the infancy of all of this, and so right now it matters. And right now it's always a hot subject and hot debate and everything like that. But like, we're going to easily get to the point, and we've already seen it a little bit. A year ago, if you were on Solana, you only bought Solana projects. If you were on Ethereum, you only bought ETH projects, right? Yeah. Now all the time, we see people that are coming in and they're like, hey, I'm buying this, and they're, rocking a PFP from another blockchain, and it's like, and so we're starting to see that more and more and more.
But that's exactly what the gaming industry did, where back in the day, it was like Xbox, PlayStation, right. GameCube, Nintendo. You really pick your platform, and now you're trying to play Call of Duty. You can do it in the same server off of any platform because the gaming industry understands that it's not just my company. It's like the industry that needs to scale, right? And that's how we capitalize on everything. And I think that's where our ecosystem, well, the ecosystem as a whole, or the NFT and Web3 industry is headed. Doesn't matter what console you're on. Like the interoperability is going to be a huge thing. For sure.
100%. So I have a few last questions for you guys. And this is one that I've been looking forward to the answer because I slightly asked it right before we started recording. And so I want to know from you guys, do you guys have plans of there being like plenty of other projects that fall underneath the Claynosaurz umbrella, or like a Disney has like Bugs Life and Toy Story and all these other, series that are underneath it? Is that something that you guys plan? Will you have eventually like an overarching company that like Claynosaurz is under, and then all the other projects? Or what's the long-term plan? Are we going to have like 10 different super dope, projects that are all Claynosaurz like in terms of the, incredible team behind it?
Are you going to answer that one?
Yeah. I'll go after.
Okay. So I think, the idea for Cleanotopia, that is to say like the Claynosaurz world, if you, the way you put it, is to have a number of different brands underneath it and so on and so forth. Right. But like basically, not necessarily different brands, but new versions of Claynosaurz, right? So have as many people on board into the system as possible. And obviously, like Nick said, like you've got to be conscious of like, there's the Genesis collection, there's the Sardines that are going to turn into pterodactyls, and there's all these other collections. So you can't like detract from those initial collections, but you still want to grow the ecosystem because you don't want to participate in a world where it's just like, 10,000 NFTs, right? It'd be great if there was like 100,000 or 1 million. And it's kind of like the MJ sort of rookie card thing. Like an MJ rookie card is not the same as like a 95 card, right? Like one has a different value than the other. And so we think and when you talk to the creative guys, and I'll tell Nick to give you this when he gets back, but like they've got all kinds of great ideas for different sort of on-brand Claynosaurz that can easily fit into the world and can easily grow out the community into such a way that you have much more participation, like a much bigger set of people to play around with and everything inside the world there. Now, if the question is like, do you want to do that with like different like non-dinosaur characters?
That was definitely where I was going to ask. Yep.
So we've had that discussion before, and it's like I think we're toying with that. Like we're toying with it conceptually at this point. We're so far from like that moment because of all the other great on-brand ideas that still exist that we don't need to make a decision today on like what's going to happen in like 18 or 24 months from now, because I think we've more or less got a pretty solid plan on like how we're going to do the next couple of things I'm describing. But then beyond that, yeah, there's some things you can do, but you also don't want to detract from the brand, right? Like how off-brand do you go? I feel like maybe this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I feel like like the Marvel guys who kind of like have so many different characters, like the original characters have like more oomph and more value than like the ones that are further down that chain through time. And so the question is like, how far diluted do you want to get? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Nick, I was telling Marc about like, character. You hear me? Okay, go ahead.
I mean, the Marvel analogy really makes sense because, like if you think about it, even Ant-Man, which came later in the game, just doesn't feel as powerful as the original like 5.
It's tough.
It's just, and it doesn't mean that he's not. It's just a psychological thing. It's chronologically he came after, and he's not like the big 6 or big 5 or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's tough, right? It's a really big brand decision. Like that's why like there's no clean answer to this.
So like, because the way I could see it, and I'll just throw this out there. I'm just thinking out loud here. Is I could see something where eventually you guys introduce like clay cavemen and like those cavemen, because like when I think of dinosaurs, I think of at the same time like cavemen that were in the caves, and then I think about like, okay, the big meteor that comes in, right, and maybe that meteor has like maybe aliens on it, right, and like they're like, I don't know, I could find different ways that they could make sense to all be kind of in the same realm, but they're all like related back to the original like Claynosaurz, and almost like telling the history of like the world that we already have of we know we had dinosaurs. We know that there were cavemen back in the day, and then there was this big meteor that came in and everything. And so if that's the case, like you guys could essentially build it out in a similar format to that. And I feel like if anything, like, and mind you, this might be something that like over the course of the next like 10 years, right? Not saying this is going to happen overnight, but I feel like there could be, and I think a lot of times it goes back to like doing things at the right times, because there are times when a project has like a 3 soul floor price, and they're like, hey, and we're going to do this next collection. It's like, holy
What's the
shit.
point?
Yeah, there's not enough demand for that first collection to really justify a second, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't think you guys are at the point where it's like, oh yeah, there's 100%, like there should be this next, 10,000 collection. But I think that point will come at some point when you guys are at 250, 300 soul floor. And like, I think that's pretty inevitable. And I know you guys can't speak about, that sort of stuff or necessarily say that's going to happen, but I can say that because I'm not on the team. So yeah, I get excited about, as time goes on, as we get into like 2024, 2025, and as we bring more and more people into the NFT space, at that point, certain projects people will be priced out because they will be too massive, and you guys will be too massive by then. And so then it becomes like bringing in these, these smaller collections, or these second collections, third collections, fourth collections, whatever, that always go back to the original, still benefit the original, Claynosaurz collection, but also allow you to expand the IP so that more people can come in and really embrace what you guys have
Absolutely.
built.
You want to keep the accessibility high. Like even right now, accessibility is not that high, right? Like imagine you're talking like your nephew or something, and like, oh, I really love it for you. Or I want to get you a Claynosaur, so you can participate in Claynotopia. It's like, I don't know what the price is now, but it's not necessarily accessible to someone. Like it should be, like in my mind, like, there should be an accessibility level that always exists that's like at the same price as like a game, right?
100%.
Like what does a game cost like to buy a PS4 game now?
Like $50.
Yeah, right. So there should always be an access level that's like pretty safe to onboard. Because also keep in mind, like there's friction to get into NFTs and into Web3, right? That everyone like talks about all the time. So you're like already telling someone like, yeah, sign up for a wallet, like put on a credit card, like get your crypto in there, like do all these things. It's like, oh yeah, also it's like gonna cost you $2,000 to like, Jesus, like to buy this thing. Like, you know, if you're not in it and you don't realize what's all behind all this, it becomes like a really tough pill to swallow. So you got to have like an access level that makes sense for people.
Well, and I think that also could be, you know, Gary Vee obviously put out VeeFriends, and now he also has the VeeFriends trading cards. And and I thought that because I'm a big sports card collector, and so when I saw that, I was like, that's really, really cool. Like that to me, like kind of blends like both things that I love: sports trading cards, the NFT world, and everything like that. I could easily see when you guys started putting out, you know, the photos of what the packets are going to look like for the NFT event here. You know, when I saw those, I was like, oh my god,
Felt the tingle.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, dude, I could so easily see like the first edition Claynosaurz trading cards. And I was like, that would be so cool. And there would be so much love for that. And it would also allow you to basically, it would give you an additional revenue stream at the same time, keeps that price point low, because no matter what the like aftermarket of those were, like you would still be able to keep the, you know, the retail price at an affordable enough level. And, you know, and it also, once again, could be an expansion of the IP and allow people to, you know, fall in love with these characters, even if you're not somebody who can afford the NFT that backs it. Right.
Right.
So,
well, it goes back to the merchandising question. Like, are collectible cards like something that people want? Is it like, how do you do it? And then how do you stay on brand? How do you make it fun? I think part of what makes sports card collecting fun is that it's got like the player's stats on there, and you can follow the player. They play, you know, in the games every week or whatever. But then like, and then you have Pokemon, like it's a game, right? Like it's an actual playing game. So the question is like, okay, collectibles, but like it can't just be a picture, right?
but I think it really is that. Like I think,
you think so?
Yeah, because I think the original, like, you know, I grew up collecting Pokemon cards, and I never really.
And you never played.
I would play the
I played Yu-Gi-Oh. I never played Pokemon.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
yeah.
played Yu-Gi-Oh, but I would on like Game Boy Color I would play Pokemon, but it wasn't something where I was actually playing the Pokemon game.
Yeah.
The you know, what I enjoyed was seeing the holographic like cards.
Right.
Like I thought that was really cool. I also thought like all the different editions that they came out with were super cool. So I lived in Novi, Michigan, which has a huge like Japanese population, and so there were these Japanese markets that I would go to where I would buy like the Japanese Pokemon cards, and so all of it was in Japanese, and I thought that was super cool because they had kind of a little bit of a difference.
Remember.
Yeah. And so
Seen this before?
Yeah, so I remember
For me,
getting
it was
like
first edition, fossil edition.
Yep.
Oh
yeah. So that to me was the collecting aspect of it. And so I think, you know, when you ask most people like, why is Charizard like the most like goated Pokemon card? I think people, because they enjoy it. Because even like in the game, it's not like he's the most goated. Like that would probably be like Mewtwo, and
he's just one of the more recognizable ones.
Right.
As is Pikachu, Bulbasaur. You know,
But is his card not like the most powerful?
no.
Like the actual
No.
powers on the game?
no.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played the video game, but on the card, it's not. You're sure?
No, and
Okay.
I don't think people really like, you know, when I look at the, you know, because I collect sports trading cards, and a lot of times I buy athletes that are super young, right? So I'll buy a guy who's like a, you know, first year out of college, like playing baseball in the minors, you know, whatever. And it's because I'm betting on his long-term, you know, ability to succeed, right?
Almost like an NFT player.
Right. Yeah. And I'm looking at it like, you know, the other day I sent in my group chat, like one of our like prospects is in the spring training right now, and he just hit a homer, and I was like, boys, he just hit a home run. He's going to be a star, yada, yada, yada. Right. And it's like, and it's the excitement of being able to see that journey. Right. And so if you guys came out with these trading cards, you have like the first edition Claynosaurz trading cards. Not only would it be somebody who, if there's many different things that could attract somebody, you could eventually come out, like it could be a game, right? Like there could be somebody who develops a game with it. But there also could be the ability to just collect these trading cards and like, oh, you've got holographic ones, you've got certain rarity and others. Like there's ways that you could do that. And then at the same time, you could have people that are just like, as holders of the NFTs, like, hey, I just want to bet on these as like long term, these are going to be worth a ton, right? And I think, you know, when Pokemon came out with the original like first edition Pokemon cards, I don't think they really knew like, hey, this is going to be down the road. Logan Paul is going to be buying a box of these for $1 million and opening this up on YouTube, right? I don't think anybody thought that was possible, but I think you know, when you are creating IP that's so sought after, if you give people that low entry point, which was the cards at that point, because the cards were much cheaper than the video game, because the video game, you had to have the console, you had to have the games, you know, you had to have all that. you had to have the Game Shark so you could actually like utilize, take advantage of the game, right? So there were so many things that you had to do. And so the cards gave you that at that time, a low entry price to get in and enjoy it and everything like that. And so, I think there's always that level of like, just like we love showing our NFTs to friends and things like that, so does the 8-year-old who loves showing his buddies like, hey, I just got this card. Even if it's not worth shit, they still...
It's human nature.
Yeah.
It's like shiny. I want shiny. I show shiny.
100%. So, okay. So, I'm going to speak that into existence. Claynosaurz trading cards coming soon.
Came here first. Marc said it first, guys.
Yeah. You guys are we're going to connect you guys with Panini. We're going to make this happen. Okay. It makes too much sense. So, but yeah, so my next question I have for you guys is as founders, what has been like the biggest hurdle that you guys have had to overcome and maybe something that you didn't think you were going to have to deal with? And what has that been like and how did you overcome it?
Okay. Yeah, I'll go first. And I can probably say the same about most of the other co-founders on the team, because of which we're 5 and then 6 if we're counting Andrew. Well, no, technically all the artists are co-founders. So what am I saying?
I'm the most non-founder, I suppose, right?
Yeah.
Because everyone else has been here for a while.
It's learning to deal with, in our day-to-day jobs as animators working in like the animation industry, we deal with a lot of criticism. So we and high pressure situations. I mean, you're basically doing art at gunpoint in a laboratory all the time, right? And you've got people breathing down your necks. So it's pressure is something we're very much used to. But here you're in a situation where there's the pressure of trying to please as many people as possible, because the expansion of your brand sort of relies on that, at least for the start of it. There's the pressure of dealing with whatever's going to happen with the market, again, because you're dependent on a certain blockchain or whatever. But I think above all else, it's the expectations are grossly unrealistic, right? And I think we do a good job at managing it, and we do a good job at feeding the beast and sort of keeping people engaged and airdropping a lot of fun stuff. And I think the space is going to mature and we're going to get there. But right now it's like, we'll release like the dopest stuff, and then usually like a day later it's like, okay, so what's next? And you're like, dude, like, I don't think you understand like what we just did, right? It's really cool. But we're conscious of it as well. So we come equipped with the weapons to mitigate that. But it's definitely tough to sort of like navigate those waters of like, everybody wants that dopamine rush every day. So that's something that's tough. And I think just like FUD that's not necessarily warranted, and I think, I'm pretty good at sort of like not really giving it a voice, or like, I'm not going to ignore it. I look at everything because I think criticism is important. Like you learn from it, you see what's not working. It's a whole part of what we do. But sometimes it's tough because it's like, guys, like, I don't think you realize like how much is at play right now and how much we work our asses off to pull this off and what we really think we can bring to the table. Over like, just really small things where it's like, oh, like they said this or whatever. And so that's, but you also have to have empathy. You have to realize like, where are they coming from and why are they saying that? And what's sort of giving weight to the FUD, and you get used to it. You grow a thicker skin, and you sort of pick your battles. I don't think it's, like it's the space is not for everybody right now. It's for sure it's tough, but I think you have to sort of take it all with a grain of salt. When people say negative things, which doesn't always happen, but when it does, you just really have to analyze it, and you're like, do I give it the time of day? Is it something I can learn from, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that would be like the toughest thing, where you're like, man, like we're really busting our ass, but you can't please everybody at the end of the day, as much as you'd want to.
Yeah. I want 1,000 floor price ASAP as a holder. I want that ASAP. So Andrew, what about for you?
I think it's a lot of what Nick said, but I think the way to describe it is more like, have you heard of the term fog of war?
Yeah.
So it's sort of like, every startup has these fog of war moments where you're like, you're in the middle of a tense situation, and the question is like, how do you solve it? And like the best founders and entrepreneurs in those environments operate really well. But those moments don't necessarily come that fast and quick. But I feel like because we have this like feedback that Nick's describing, you get them quite often actually. So we're like sometimes, and the whole management team meets at least twice a week. I mean, we talk every single day, but we have like an actual scheduled twice a week meeting. and sometimes those meetings go for like 3-4 hours. And like sometimes there's like someone brings something up and it's like suddenly like you're in this fog of war moment, like such and such happened and this happened over here in Discord and someone said this and like is that, and like now you're like, and that happens quite often. So more often than I'm used to. And I've done like startup stuff before, and I've done different like high stress environments with all kinds of things being thrown at you, but I feel like they come really fast and quick in this environment. But it's a matter of like, sort of setting yourself back a step and removing yourself from that. And that's one thing that I had to adjust to pretty quickly. Like I'm pretty good at that just from my background, but like it just every damn day, like sometimes it was like day after day after day. I'm like, holy moly. I think when it comes back to like, people in the space, there's like the word like obviously decentralized is huge in Web3, right? Like everything's decentralized. I feel like for some people, like they also mean disorganized, and you're just like, dude, that's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Like we can have a corporate structure and organization amongst us with like mutual respect and non-hierarchy, like completely flat. Like I think our organization is super flat. Like, yeah, okay, says the CEO, right? But like we're flat. And so like there's a lot of disorganization in the space. And so you get these like 911s that come up all the time. And sometimes it's not like, it doesn't come, I'm not going to name names, but it doesn't come from us. It comes from like other people we're working with. And you're just like, I don't know, man. Like, you should have thought of that. Like what, like the onus was on you to do this, and now the onus is on me. And it's like, this shouldn't be happening. And it's all a function of often of disorganization. So these fog of war moments come up a lot. You know what it is? I think it's the sector itself. Everyone's a startup, right?
Yeah.
So you're not just, your startup is suffering from your own moments, which is natural, but then you're also partnering with other startups too. And then their moments kind of come onto your moments. And now you're like, okay, well now it's like every 2 minutes, there's something coming up. So it's like a really fast paced problem solving.
100%. Okay, so I have, and I know we could probably go for 5 hours, but I've got one last really big question, one small question, and then we're wrapping up here. So one last big question is, I want to give you guys the opportunity for your 30-second elevator pitch. If there's some alpha you want to drop, if there's anything you want to say to holders, future holders, anything at all, here's your opportunity. Tell somebody why they should be excited about the future of Claynosaurz.
I don't even know how to do that. I mean, there's so much to say.
Yeah, I like, did not prepare for this, but I'm super passionate, so I guess I'll go. I mean, like, watch us go. Like I know this sounds a little bit like I don't want to sound like delusions of grandeur, but I'm really proud of what we're doing. I'm excited about what we're doing. I've shown many industry friends what we're up to. We get knocks on the door all the time, and everybody's like, this is potentially going to change the game, at least as far as like 3D animation is concerned, and a way to approach things. Hopefully you guys are going to be along for the ride as long as you believe in us and you enjoy the Claynosaurz. I'm really excited in expanding this IP and really like nurturing and growing it. And I mean, yeah, it's going to be special. Like every time I see what like Cedric's working on, I'm like, dude, like this is this kind of shit you see at the studio, right? Like, yeah. And I'm in awe of my team. I really am. I really think like every day that I see the new stuff, we show you guys a lot, but there's a lot that we keep just to sort of expand feeding the beast, just like sort of like delay that stuff as much as we can. And the stuff that you guys have not seen, like to me, it's really special. It's on another level. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It feels like we're really doing a full blown like cinematic universe, or the stuff you would see like Blizzard doing. I mean, yeah. Andrew, do you want to? I mean,
I can clean up that a little bit because yeah. I think the real thing you're seeing with Claynosaurz is that like everyone's empowered. Like our artists are empowered top to bottom. Our community is empowered. Like we listen to them, we talk to them, we're engaging with them, and it's not the way any other entertainment brand is built right now. And so we're like the first, I think, professional team that's building in Web3 while empowering the artists and the community simultaneously, and like leveraging those things as like a real value add to the product shows up so quickly. And so like if we're able to continue doing that, I mean, we will continue doing that. And right now, like I don't see anyone else at our level for what we do specifically, that is like 3D animation, who's doing it the way we are, especially with a team of that size, because it's hard to do that in a professional manner with such a large team. I think there's no competing with us. Like if you put that on a graph and you look at like how a regular movie is built and how we're building, like our curve is like, is accelerating. It's like not even on the same. It's like stratospherically different.
I mean,
The
hey,
cinematics.
I'm brick the fuck up hearing all of this. This is
You know what? I forgot the cinematics. I don't know why I didn't say that.
Oh, if you do the cinematic, we're working on a really sweet cinematic for. I mean, this is me saying, but like Nick can describe it to you. I don't know if this is the forum for that because he's got to get up and dance and stuff, but it's good.
Yeah. I mean, we'll do this like next time, but or like a bit later. You know what? When we're at the party, I'll take you through it.
okay.
But because I gotta act out some stuff. But
Nick has to animate himself to animate.
okay.
Yeah.
No, they really do film themselves.
I think we'll release that. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I was doing like the Ankylo thing, and I was like acting out, and then I was basically like making the character do that. But that's neither here nor there. So these cinematics for us, it's a way to really sort of, really put ourselves on another level, to really show people like what this can be. In the same way that you see the booster packs, like, you know, you see the branding on the booster pack, you're like, holy shit, this actually looks like it is a thing. It's a real kind of brand play. And these Claynosaurz can permeate past just the NFT. For us, the cinematics it's everything. The first one we released, it was just like, it was to get everybody excited, but now we're going to take it on another level. It's really like, guys, like, this is who we are. We're not outsourcing this stuff. This is done in-house, and, you know, we'll continue to expand and bring in more animators on board. But what excites me about those releases is obviously it's going to drive hype cycle, but it's going to allow everybody to really understand that, you know, Claynosaurz could live on any platform. Like, this is the stuff you're used to seeing in movies or like Blizzard pull off, but we're not outsourcing it. We're not paying another company to do it. Like, this is really like us doing it, and here we are, and we're part of the community. You guys know us, just like you gave us the chance, and now we are sort of like, you know, pumping the gas.
Fuck yeah, I'm pumped up. So, okay, so that was my last real question. We're gonna do one more thing, and that is, I got some dinosaurs, and I want to hear from you guys as you grab one out of here.
Is there something special? Like, they're not spicy, are they?
No. These are just these. No, these are fun. These are fun. These are just good Haribo gummy dinosaurs. What's your favorite dinosaur? That's what this question was for.
Okay, I'm at odds with this because I grew up like loving the T-Rex because of Jurassic Park, but I've always had a love affair with raptors. They're so cool. And I got to animate them on Jurassic World, and that was like a formative thing for me where I was like, holy shit, like full circle. Because as a kid, it was like my favorite. I would say, yeah, T-Rex and raptors. And I really like, I'll give you a third one. I really like compies.
There we go.
You know, like the little ones that are always in groups.
Do you really?
Yeah. Okay. I think they're hilarious. They're awesome.
They're fun. No, I might love them all, but I love the Rex all day. But a Bronto is a close second. I love that long neck, especially the way we've done ours. It's just like he's so goofy looking, like, and his face is so animated and everything.
There we go.
What's your favorite?
You know, I'm bad with the names of them, but I like I like my guy with the little what's
Yours a Triceratops?
What's the character? Wait,
It's not an Ankylo. What do you have?
is it that character?
No, that's Bronto.
Oh, it's a Bronto. Yeah.
Stego here.
Wait, is that what I have?
I don't know what
you
you
have.
have.
A Stego with like the spikes on
Well,
his back?
I have three.
Yeah, all right, show me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them. They're all the same?
No. Let me see. It's my original guy. Let me see.
Does he have the spikes on his tail?
This dude. Come on. Load here. Oh, wait. I can... Oh, Triceratops.
It is Triceratops. Okay.
Yeah. The little cutie guy.
Yeah.
With the crest.
Yeah.
And you got an Ankylo.
Yeah. The Triceratops is pretty good.
I mean, they're all cute as hell. But yeah, so that is, boys, so that's it. Drop your socials. Where can people find you? Feel free to take another if you like.
I'm gonna definitely jam another one.
Oh, so you want me to just say?
Yeah, drop your socials. Where can people find you?
Oh, at Caban. Well, me personally, you follow me at like at cabanimation.com. I'm sure you'll like write it down. Andrew.
I'm just on Twitter, so at Andrew P.
There we go. There we go. Well, hey, boys.
And you guys know Claynosaurz, so
Yeah.
look that up.
I've enjoyed this. This is the longest episode we've ever done. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to edit this. It is going to be
I feel like it's a lot of work coming up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, this is great. So appreciate you guys. Appreciate everybody tuning in. If anybody made it to the end here, appreciate you guys doing this and appreciate listening to all of this. And I'm very excited for the future of Claynosaurz, and excited to run this back and continue to document the whole journey of Claynosaurz. And so, once again, great work to you and the whole team. team, and excited to meet more and more team members as time goes on. And
bring 'em on.
yeah, keep rocking it with the memes, keep rocking it with everything else, and we'll Claynosaurz to the fucking moon. Let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's
Thanks
do
for
it.
having us, Marc.
No problem. See you guys.
Later.